So, Groton Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting being held on July 14, 2025.
Recording in progress.
I'll say it again. Good evening. This is the Groton Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting being held on July 14, 2025. It's being held in room 11 and online. Online we have Ian Thomas, Dr. Ackerman, and Jay Whitloff. And present in person, we have Mike Whitney, myself, Beverly Washington, Matt Shulman, we have Jen White, and we have Adrian Johnson and Dean Antipas. So the first thing on the agenda is review the minutes of June 16th. Everybody got their minutes? It's attachment number 1. Any corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes?
Negative.
None? Okay, so we'll move on from there. The next thing on the agenda,
Oh, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, point of order. Should we vote on the acceptance of the minutes?
I read in Robert's rules that you do not have to vote on the acceptance of the minutes.
Oh, good.
There's no deletions, subtractions, minutes are approved.
And if you're wrong, we can always do it next time.
Yeah,
All right, thanks.
okay. The next is proposed park open space behind the former Mary Morrison School, and we talked about that last month. We had a pretty good discussion, and I asked the town manager, this is the first time that I can remember in the 24 years I've been on the board that the town manager actually came to a Board of Education meeting, and we're glad to have John come and talk about the proposed park open space. Come on up, John. If you want to bring this to Barry.
And I do have some counselors at some point who probably want to
Yeah.
speak.
Okay. In attendance, we have Adam Pacino.
It's okay?
Yep, fine. Jill Rusk, and the newest counselor, David Good. Thank you all for attending, too.
Thank you for having us.
And if you have any input, feel free to come to the mic and speak up.
Thank you again for having me. I had sent a request, I don't know, probably a month ago or so, covering the need of District 4 for more park space, open space. For any questions on kind of the history, Mark's got a little history of needs for Parks and Rec, and it's a detailed study for District 4. But where do you want to start at?
Just tell us what you propose and why you think it's a good site.
Okay. So if you watch the town council meetings, you've probably seen we're pretty desperate for space, for wide open space, especially in D4. We have lots of little parks. I'm working also with the Balfour Beatty and the Navy base to hopefully allow access to a few of the little playgrounds there, which would be helpful in that district, but we're still looking for more open space. I have approached the state, too, to see if a little bit of Gunji-Wamp could be accessed more publicly. That's a very long process. Could be years, though, if anything comes out of that. But we're trying to, but in terms of an ideal space, you've got the back. Has everyone been back there, back behind to see the field back there?
The Facilities Committee went, Dean, myself, and Jen.
Nice, nice and level. Kind of a bowl, but nice and level once you get down a little incline. Used to be, I believe, Dolphin football back in the day.
Right, yes.
Yeah, not really used for school purposes prior. What we'd like to have that is of course, people can use any public space in their, when it's not being used. However, we'd like it more officially designated, and that would include it in our official category of maps. Maybe see what the public would like to have there. I understand there's some concerns over what if the school ever, restarts. Most of the usage would be outside of school hours anyhow, so it wouldn't be a big deal to, to restrict, parking, not have it open during those times, if parking is an issue. I did reach out. One of my bigger concerns was handicap parking. I'm working with Balfour Beatty and potentially some parking out along where the Balfour Beatty abuts it there, trying to see if we can get a few parking spots right there. We could come right in to that back area. Mark, you want to?
Yeah, having access to that backfield would also address a different need in the community, and that's access to athletic fields. There's a shortage of available fields And that space would allow us to schedule either soccer or lacrosse out in that space, because there's a well-documented shortage of athletic field space.
I just want to insert, the council's not talked about the usage, so that's one option, but there
right.
could be other options there. It could be more of an events gathering space, that kind of thing, so there has to be further discussion on that. So.
What kind of security would it be? Because that was one question somebody had from the board about about security, the safety for the school kids, if there's people in that area during the day.
And right now you have the meals program, but do you have any children in the building at this point, or are you just talking about the future?
Yeah, talk about the future. If we were to
Again, we
open
could
up.
have limited hours to off school hours, weekends and evenings, whatever. Obviously, whatever the Board of Ed would be comfortable with, we're perfectly willing to work with you.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm obviously not speaking for the board, but I was one, though not the only one, of people who had some concerns, so I'll articulate it. The way you phrased it, it sounded to my ears as if you were thinking that the future use of the school was a hypothetical. We are one vote away from that being not a hypothetical. And to the best of my knowledge, which is a very weak thing, as we all know, I have not heard a definitive answer on when, not if, but when the boat is coming. Some people say a year and a half. Some people say this fall. Whenever it comes, it comes. 2 crews, I don't remember the names of the colors, that get trained for a year or more to be able to go out on the boats. Most of them are not older officers. They're young families. 2 crews, we're going to have a pile of youngsters that, in my individual opinion, we're not going to be able to accommodate in the current schools, and they're probably mostly going to be elementary students. So the concept of security and the concept of use of the school is not a hypothetical in this pilgrim's mind. So what I, and I think some others said, was let's see if we can get together with either council or you to talk about the specifics of how this would be handled. Because in the current world environment that we live in, and we see, unfortunately, every month it seems somewhere, we need to be very, very careful about security. And all I would like is for us to work towards having this be a park, or having it be under whatever legal definition it is, but having it be used for park purposes. But the devil's in the details, and let's have a memorandum of understanding so that everybody is satisfied going in, and the only surprise becomes a happy surprise.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to, pardon me if I seem to diminish the possibility of the school being reused. My understanding is the back area had not been used as part of school activities in the past, and I perfectly understand that we would want restrictions on school hours and not allowing access through that way. I would love to have if there was a committee that we could get together to hammer out a potential MOU, that would be fantastic.
Thank you very much. That's the only thing I wanted, was for us to coordinate this rather than just to have us plan what the town should do or the town plan what we should do, and then we have questions later. Let's get it right the first time.
Right. I fully understand this property is under Board of Ed control. Council, is trying to do right by the citizens. I know that's what you want too, but first and foremost, you have to worry about the students. But it would be fantastic if we
I'm sure we can work something out. I'm
Yeah.
sure we can work something out.
Mike?
Yeah. I was wondering, first, is it just the field primarily you're interested to, or actually Dave came and spoke about the woods are kind of beautiful there too. There's some trails. Is it just the field or the woods as well?
One of the things I spoke with Balfour Beatty about is they have a playground right past those woods, and there's a little bit of open space there. They were talking about, well, maybe you could put some parking there too, but it's steep there. I'm not sure how well that would work out, but that is nice woods. It's first and foremost, the field itself is, I think, the focus, but if things evolved and people were interested in the woods, it's certainly something we could look at.
And I can't remember, was it included, that field, in the athletics field task force? I felt like maybe not, even though the field is obviously mowed and maintained. It didn't seem to be active, I guess.
Your question is, was that in the study?
Yeah, like the inventory of fields. I felt like it wasn't, but maybe you of course would know much better than I.
Yeah, well, that wasn't a field that was being actively used, so I don't think it was, and it was under the Board of Ed control, so I don't think it was part of the study.
Right, but other Board of Ed ones were, right? Like,
Yes.
but they were actively being used.
Right,
And part of that is the concentration of different properties, like the high school, the middle school, Pequannock Plains Park, Cloud Chest, they're all in the central area. It's harder to have one thing further out.
Yeah.
Yeah, operationally.
Part of the regular, yeah.
Right, operationally, it just, if you can try to concentrate the fields in one particular area, then you're not having to, drive equipment all the way across town and line fields and things like that. So the Athletic Field Task Force focus has been just in the Pequannock Plains, Clodchester High School, Sutton Park area.
Thanks. One talk of a future use would be for sort of an early childhood center. There are a lot of districts that are moving towards this model, not just early childhood, but also just learning that wouldn't happen in sort of standard classrooms. People would need extra or different environments. And if it is for early childhood, they would be using the current playground, which is not this field. It's down the hill from the school. And one thing for me, I've been on that quite a bit, and it does sort of, it's right next to the brook and everything, and it does tend to flood out. Would there be sort of like a holistic look at the site to, because as we get more and more, they call it nuisance flooding, but stronger rains, I think that flooding out of that playground could become more and more of an issue. And if we're thinking of having a park on one field that probably doesn't flood, and we've got a playground that does, I was thinking maybe as we go forward, it'd be a holistic look at how to make that whole site be better.
No, certainly.
One for you and one for us.
Yeah.
I'd love to, for wherever use is over, I'd love to have a playground more centrally located in that larger area, just so you can have activities, whatever it is, and then also have your kids there playing. I'd like to see a fenced-in. You've probably heard some people come to the council looking for more of a fenced-in type playground, to better manage children, so that's something I personally am interested in mining there.
That sure could help. One thing I'm concerned about is, this will take, because of the planning, it'll take quite some time to come to fruition. And the public's vocal support for open space and fields in that district came out in discussions of a Pleasant Valley project. And so what I'd be concerned about is that the public swayed away from still trying to push for Pleasant Valley open space because they now have this possibility, and for whatever reason, neither comes to be. So I guess my question is there any chance of having public open space on the Pleasant Valley site?
Well, as you've seen the plans, there would be some sort of playground remaining there. As you know, finances are a concern for the town. You might know that. But, that would bring in somewhere between $1 million and $1.2 million into the town revenue. And if let's say you didn't, there's not much there. There's not even a playground there right now, so it's not overly usable currently. And let's say we didn't do development there. Well, that school's just going to fall in disrepair. It's not really going to become an open space because who's going to spend $1 to $1.5 million to tear it down? So I think the best bet is the playground, but also plans also call there's the woods and trails already that connect up to Balfour Beatty through the back of the property. They didn't really highlight that, but plans also call for access to those trails too. So there would be some open space there. Yeah, the playground, but also access across the back of the property. It's too inclined to build on,
right. And
so the plan is to have trails open to the public.
And then obviously open with parking, right? Because the new, where William Silly was, it's wonderful, right? Is it the Nautilus project? I can't remember what.
Titan Square.
Triton Square.
Triton Square. And I remember that I was encouraged when that plans came out that they did have playgrounds in there, and they are indeed building it. However, the design of it, I, as a member of the public, would not think that that is a public space.
Well, we've talked to them about making sure the signage is appropriate, and there will be a playground as part of it, and with access to the public. But we've talked to them, and they said whatever signage we need, they're perfectly willing to do, make it very clear. It'll show up in our inventories, too,
Right,
of course, to direct people to this.
So thanks, that's what I had.
Okay. Ian, you have a question?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Appreciate you all coming out. One of the things that had been discussed in the last time we talked about this was just getting a sort of topographical map together and getting more like kind of a statistical breakdown of the land, and also feasibility concept of if we have to reactivate that school and then eventually update it, similar to how Thames River, was one west side of Thames River kind of moved around on the same spot of land. They used open space on the same parcel of land to build a new school. Is that a thing that we might have to look at too? Because looking at the rough map, a quick look at it without a schematic breakdown of dimensions, it looked like roughly a building could go in that area, and then, if ever we had to upgrade the facilities. When I saw this on the agenda, I thought perhaps we were going to get some of that information tonight, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So I align my comments with Mike and Matt there as far as want to be very systematic about this, very strategic and very formalized. So, getting a committee together to look at MOU parameters, I think would be a good first step. Getting more information about topographical maps and the likelihoods of having to use that building as a school. Once again, we have to count what actual probabilities are of that. And also, back to Mike's point, the Route 12 is a hard barrier. So I definitely think that no matter what happens with this parcel of land on the Mary Morrison property, I think the town needs to make the commitment to us developing as much open space as possible on the west side of Route 12, because families are not easily able to traverse that throughout the day, especially young parents and children. It is a bit of a hard barrier. So those are things that I just want to put out there in the conversation as we consider this moving forward. But I definitely would like to get more detailed information about the property as far as topography goes. It would definitely be a concern if we're losing usable space. The flooding concern is a real thing, and it's more likely it's likely to increase in frequency. So we have to be concerned about that. And on that, slow and steady, and let's make sure everything's in good order.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam, do you want to address the issue of the possibility of where you would most likely say to build a new school, so we can put that to bed?
Building the school.
Yeah, if we are ever going to build a new school, could you address that issue, where you would suggest that we build that school, so we could put that issue to bed?
Well, my recommendation, if we're going to build a new school on that side of town, we would do it on the Charles Barnum site, where you would build it out toward the road on the lower playground, and then open up the back of after you tear it down, open that back up for parking and playground on the upper level. That would be my recommendation.
So your recommendation is we would not build a school on that Mary Morrison site?
I think the Barnum property is suited very well for building a new school, and also keeping that building open at the same time until it was ready for occupancy.
Can I just
Thank
add
you.
one thing about the Mary Morrison site? In the meantime, if we were to have the early childhood programs, which take up a lot of space in the Thames River School and the Mystic River School, we'd open up classrooms for children almost immediately. Should some of these apartments fill, and that Columbia class, which we've heard 600 families rotating in and out for the next 10, 15 years, that could also be another way we could at least get some relief. But we've talked about the Charles Barnum site for a few years, that would be really the.
If I could just follow up on that.
Hold tight. Ian, it's not your turn. Ian, it's not your turn.
It still was. You were answering my question. I just want to follow up on the Charles Barnum site to make sure that the building is going to be built there. The new building is built there. It would be large enough to accommodate the populations that would be covered by the two separate sites. Is that part of the plan?
Dean, your turn.
Thank you.
Am I going to get the answer to that question?
No, it was not your turn.
I'm sorry, but I was still. He was answering the question I asked.
Dean, it's your turn, Dean.
Thank you. First of all, I'm not aware that there is any sort of plan for rebuilding. We're just thinking out loud, if in the future, because things will change. But I just want to assure the public there's no hidden agenda or plan that we're talking about. Yeah, I would agree that Charles Barnum probably is a better site for a school rebuild, assuming the current structure of our elementary schools. But should we need Mary Morrison or that site for an additional elementary school? As I look at the site, I'm thinking access would have to remain from Tollgate Road. And if you said, well, let's use the field in the back to put the new school up, and we'll just sort of use that as the swap area. That area looked to me like it was wet, and I think you're going to have a heck of a time getting through wetlands to pull a driveway through there to access the school in the back. I think although there are challenging conditions in front of the school, I think if you're going to use that technique of let's build next to the existing school and then tear down the old one, we would probably keep that shorter access to Tollgate, build a new school in front of Mary Morrison, and then demolish the building in the back and make that a new field, et cetera. I don't think we would ever use the field way in the back for that. That said, that's something you could put in an MOU. Town, you can use. These are the uses we would like to see allowed. But if in the future we think we need it, then school use would take priority over your dog park or athletic field or whatever. Understanding that at that time in the future, people may say, what do you mean the schools are going to take away a field from us? Not really remembering that there was an MOU, because people don't like to get into details like that. Nevertheless, so I'm not too concerned that if the town were to use the back field, we would be deprived in the long shot chance that we actually wanted to use that back area of the opportunity to use it. As far as security goes, well, heck, there isn't any security now. Anybody can go into that field. Anybody can access the property from the back if they wanted to, and bad actors are not going to say, geez, it wasn't an authorized field before, but now it is. I see goalposts and stuff, and so and benches. So now I'm going to skulk around the school. They can do that now. So whatever security we want, we should be doing it. If we're going to use this thing for actual children, we should be doing that no matter what the town does. So I think the advertisement of the field as for public use is not going to draw any more bad actors. Not to say that I'm not concerned about security. Please don't anybody take that away from this. So I also remember that the schools, the town's need for athletic fields and public use areas on that side of town, the northwest side of town. This has been an issue for years. People have said we've got nothing or very little on our side of town. It's not like the other areas are flush, but they especially seem to be deprived. So I wouldn't mind that field being used. It's a very lovely looking meadow. You're right. It's very level, even though it is a bit of a bowl. I'm not too worried. Some concerns have been brought up about hardscape. What if the town builds something there? All right, well, what if the town built something there? If the town built something there, we are the town too. If the town built, put in a basketball court. Again, in an MOU, it could be used as a basketball court for, non-school hours, until such time as the district needed that space to build a school back there or to provide an athletic field for the elementary school or a new middle school. There, you want to buzz? There's that one. I don't really have a concern as long as, again, the MOU is very clear as to what the town wants, what the town gets, what we want, what we get. And on that, I want to make sure that whatever structure we put together to hammer something out, that we don't committee the thing to death. Let's be very considerate, let's be very deliberate, but let's not, the way a lot of things are done, just have the thing go through committee and become a committee for the sake of having a committee. Let's just get the thing done.
John?
I could.
Adrian, you have anything to say?
So, like, when we're talking about the need for schools, has a demographic analysis been done on any of the developments? So because as a district, we have like something like about 1,000 units between 3 developments, right, that are going to be opening in the next couple of years. Some open now. So presumably there's going to be some children that are going to be attending the school. So has an analysis been done so we by like an outside group that specializes in it, so we know kind of what to expect with this?
We have not done an analysis. Now, when we originally were planning the new schools, Dr. Goodyear was heavily involved. We actually thought to be way more apartments than this. We counted in Mystic Ed Center 900 units. We counted a bunch of things that didn't come forward. Dr. Goodyear was confident the new schools would handle it, so we kind of relied on his expertise on that. Most of these apartments, there's very few beyond a 2-bedroom. Most are 1-bedroom, but there's almost no 3-bedrooms. So there's probably not going to be a huge impact with children. There'll be some, obviously, but something that can be further looked at, though.
I mean, to me, it seems like a lot of units to just make a general assumption that people probably won't have kids. Because when we talk about town revenue, like $1 million or 1.2 million, I mean, a student costs about $20,000, and that's 50 students.
Adrian, could I just ask you, how does this tie into the Mary Morrison Park? Because that's the agenda items. I just don't want to make sure we're not going off of the agenda item.
Well, I was just saying that students cost money.
Okay.
And this is related because, to me,
As long as you can relate it.
to me, the email to request to turn Mary Morrison into a park came 2 weeks after a lot of public outcry to turn Pleasant Valley into a park. So the timing is coincidental, I guess. So, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that if there are new, like, additional students as a district, I feel like it would be nice to know that so we can plan for it. The second thing, Sam, kind of to pick up on what was being talked about before, Charles Barnum it's 61 years old, right? Built in 64, is that correct?
64, 65, yeah.
What's the expected lifespan of a building like that? What would have been built for a design life?
She got me on that. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
All right.
At least 60 years.
Yeah, so it's old. With a lot of new development and potential increase in Navy housing or in other places with families, we may see an increase in students. And I think going back to what we had talked about of Dr. Grenier saying that we had enough space, we also thought the state's formula on the middle school was going to be sufficient. And
Adrian, are you transgressing again? Are you tying this into the Mary Morrison Park?
I absolutely am.
Okay, all right, go for it.
Saying that if we need a larger school to replace Charles Barnum, when eventually it will need to be replaced, hopefully a long time, but we don't know, is there enough space in front of Charles Barnum to build a larger school, like, say, Mystic River or something like that?
I believe there is, yes.
All right. I mean, I'd be interested in just seeing a plan on where we go in 10 years, because for me, looking at the GIS, there's really no other sites in that corner of town, and that's where we would need a new elementary school if we were going to replace Charles Barnum, or if we needed additional space. I think that's the only lot, Mary Morrison and Charles Barnum. And are there any, can you fill me in if there's other spaces in that side of town that could be used as schools down the line if we needed them? Like John, I guess it would
Yeah,
be.
well, there's not a lot of open space over there, so it would probably be difficult outside of that. I was glad Mr. Antipas brought up the wetness. It's unlikely you'll be able to build a school in the back. It is wetlands back there. You're probably not going to build a school in the back of the, obviously we need to account for it, plan in the case, but you're unlikely to build back there.
Yeah, well, maybe the solution would be just to demo Mary Morrison and build a new school there if we needed to. But do we have enough space? And then would be, as far as the district goes, would we kind of need more space than is available outside of wetlands? So I would personally like to see a plan for if we need a new school that, say, is going to accommodate 500 students, and we were getting rid of Charles Barnum as part of that, this is where we would put it in the town to have this long-term plan. So if that comes up in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, there was some thought into it, so we have kind of something to fall back on. So again, as far as the demographic analysis, I think for just this one project, for the load on our schools, as far as the population of our schools, I would request that. I don't know if any other board members would support that.
Well, right now, we're just talking about the land in back of Mary Morris. I think we're getting a little off topic here, talking about demographics and how many kids.
Well, we're talking about the need. I mean, our school, I mean, maybe Susan can answer. Do we have a ton of extra space in elementary schools now?
No. That's why I said that if we could put some of the preschools in the Mary Morrison site, we could open up some classrooms in the Thames River and the Mystic River if it was an immediate need.
So that's my correlation, is we do need schools. We are going to need schools in the future. And I just want to make sure that if we're turning something into something different, at least from my opinion, we have a plan for where we're going to go if we do have an increase in student population. So I think that demographic analysis seems, would be helpful for many things, just because we are going to end up with nearly 1,000 units, and there's going to be some students. And yeah, that was my questions. Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
A couple things kind of got covered, but we definitely want to look at frequency predicted for more flooding in that area. Nice thing about parks, what Europe is doing, putting in parks, because you can put in certain types of parks that can handle the infrequent flooding and still be fine. That's where we're heading. A lot of the coastlines in the future will be things like parks. So this fits in perfectly with that. And worst comes worst, we make sure we put in stuff that can be easily removed too. If it's stuff like athletic fields or one or two small things, that wouldn't be an issue. Let's see. I did definitely take the point of West Side needs more focus. Now, the town council, when this current version was elected, they put it as one of their highest priorities to look at District 4 parks and open space. Mayor Franco had put that. I think it proposed that initially. We've been looking at that all along. We've talked about it at least once before the council. And then we had a D4 study done. When was that wrapped up? That mentioned Mary Morrison as a...
Oh, yeah, so we did a recreational needs assessment in 2023, and it reiterated the shortage of athletic facilities in District 4, and we actually used that same consulting group to do an analysis just of District 4, and they came forward with a number of recommendations. One of those included utilizing the currently closed school at Mary Morrison, along with Gunjewamp, which John mentioned. We've been in contact with the state about that, and also looking at potentially some type of an arrangement with the group that manages some of the Navy property, Balfour Beatty.
And then in terms of demographic analysis, that might be something a joint. It wouldn't be just town; it would be something that would be joint with Board of Ed in town. So it's something I'd certainly be open to doing in the future.
I think we do need to do it, John.
Yeah. And then between that and this, I think it's a good way, I think we need closer cooperation together and, bring everybody back together.
May I
Okay.
have permission to go off topic for 45 seconds?
Nope, I'm going to call on Jen. Go ahead, Jen.
So I agree we need more open space there. What's not being counted are all of the parks that are in military housing, right? Or what I consider military housing now with civilians in there. But in military housing, there's a lot of parks in there. So I don't want it to be like there's no open space there, because there is. And then military families have access to North Lake inside the base, which is also not for everyone. So the only population that we need to worry about are the civilians on the, not worry about, but concerned that they may not have access are the civilians who live on the north side. And if you remove all of the access to like non-military, there is nowhere to go. So me personally, like I was against like using this at first because I was thinking about the school, but for the non-military families who are living in District 4, they don't have access to anything. Maybe the little dog park, I don't even know if that's District 4, Cop Field. I don't.
Yeah, that is still in District 4.
To the eastern side,
Okay, yeah. So as far as I know, I think that's the only access they would have, right, in District 4. There's nothing else.
To a dog
there.
park, yeah.
Yeah, to a dog park.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to have like a barbecue or a birthday gathering or anything, non-military families, they don't really have a place to
Right,
go.
there is some other open space in that area, but it's primarily trails.
Okay, yeah.
You all set?
Yes.
Ian?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and say I do appreciate what Adrian was saying, and I appreciate the town manager supporting the idea of a demographic analysis, as well as the superintendent. And I'm also in support of the plan to, the idea of developing a plan, at least getting a draft of a plan together as far as elementary school expansion, if we have to accommodate larger schools or larger elementary populations. But I do think it's important that as we move forward, I'm all in favor of moving forward with the MOU and start like looking at that, just have a committee that kind of gets the draft together, so it's getting the parameters hashed out so we can, get away from the hypotheticals and get more into the practical. Is there any sense, I'm just kind of curious to know, that Triton Square is the one that is the closest to being complete and ready to rent and start bringing in more people. And I'm looking at that place as a bit of a test case to see, how well, how attractive those things are to the market that's out there, and what kind of demographics are going to be moving in. Do we have a sense of what the timeline is for that?
Well, I believe they've received their certificates of occupancy for a little over maybe half of their apartments just received them, but they're phasing it out. They do have a waiting list. They feel they'll fill all the way up, but they'll phase the move-ins, but we anticipate they'll probably see move-ins. Now they have some more work outside. They haven't built all the amenities outside, but we should start seeing some people moving in soon. But I have no doubt they'll fully fill up.
So by the start of the school year, we might start seeing that building occupied?
Some of it. I doubt we'd see all of it occupied then, but probably some of it.
All right, so I mean, there's a lot to discuss here. I don't want to bog down the meeting with too many more hypotheticals, but, I think it is worthy of concern, and as far as looking at the way the schools are designed, I understand that Gus Grenier had his beliefs back in the day, but, to Adrian's point, the middle school, we are kind of jammed up and maxed out there now due to the state constraints that we are operating, that the board was forced to deal with. So we have to be very cognizant of this, and I'm all in full favor of the idea of like trying to, throw out a 10-year plan or so. And also looking at school buildings in general. I mean, lifespans are lifespans, but I mean, there are ways to prolong.
Again, I think Ian, I think we're transgressing here. We're just talking about the Mary Marshall in the park. I think now we're talking about school buildings.
But it's related to the school buildings and needs for school children, and the fact that our information has been constrained or a little bit off target in the past, and then we've had to deal with the ramifications of that. So that's all I'm trying to make. It's always good to keep refreshing, and try to look forward and anticipate. So that's all I'm going to say about it, and I look forward to seeing what comes forth of the committees work on this. And, when the committee might be formed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Dean and then Matthew. Try to stay on topic. Not you so much, but other people have been going off topic.
She's talking to me. She's talking to me.
I mean, because people are going off topic, really.
Yeah, that's what I was going to address.
I mean, even though they say they're not, they are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to address. So, personally, hey, I'm curious about all sorts of these issues. The schools, the parks, demographics, et cetera, who's going to buy the apartments and all that jazz. As a board member, I don't think it's the board's place, I could be wrong, to have the town justify its need for the park. I presume that the town has come to a decision, or could come to a decision, that it would like to have this area for one or more uses. Fine. The only question for us is, would it impinge upon our activities of schooling the kids? As I sit here, I don't see that. I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb, like I said before, and say that even if we had plans, and we don't even have the glint in the eye of plans, we may have more kids. We may need more space. There's all kinds of mays. I don't think we're ever going to use that space back there. And if we did, put that in the MOU. Just say, look, you can have carnivals back there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But should we need to build back there or use it for educational purposes, then the town clears out, signed, done. That's it. The rest of it, the demographic studies, all of that is, to me, irrelevant. When we get to the point where we're busting at the seams and we need more schools, then we'll say, hey, per our agreement, we'd like to build back there. Frankly, even if we didn't have an agreement, don't you think that if we actually needed to build another school, that we would be able to basically, for lack of a better term at the moment, shove the park aside and use that? I mean, school projects are the biggest things we have typically. They're expensive, they're controversial, etc. This is headline stuff. I think we would, if we definitely needed that, we would be able to take it. It's our property after all. We're not giving the thing up. I don't want to, again, as I said, I don't want to overcomplicate this. Yes, let's have an agreement. Let's be clear about what we're agreeing to, and let's move on. We're not using it now. If we need to use it in the future, then let's use it in the future. But we're nowhere close.
Thank you, Dean. Well said. Well said. All right. So, anybody else? On topic, please respect what I say. When I say you're going off topic, please shut it down. Really.
If you give me 30 seconds.
If you're on topic.
I'm not on topic.
Okay, you're not.
I'm very much on topic.
Okay, you better be, Mike.
Some people would say I was.
On the
Yeah, the people that are all off topic. What they're going to say it.
So on the very broad topic of education, now, my one question is, do you foresee the field having access through Tollgate Road? Do we need that access, or is it only through the development?
I think ideally we'd have access to the front lot, at least for events. We would need it, yeah. If
Yes.
there was any kind of big things, which again, that would be evenings or weekends.
So to get to the backfield, basically, that backfield, would you come up
Use
through
the sidewalk. You'd park it, well, hopefully we'll have a little bit of parking back there, but you'd have the front lots, and it's all connected by sidewalks currently.
Right.
Oh, okay. So when you said lot, you mean the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get there and go through. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And then
That's one nice thing, is there are lots of sidewalks back there.
Right. And so that part would be incongruous with an active school day use, I guess, right? I mean, that would, yeah, okay. But that could be worked out. I like Dean's idea about the MOU about future, possible future use.
Yeah. Any of the town councils want to speak? Feel free. Jill, you said you weren't going to say anything.
I did say I wasn't going to say anything.
Stay on topic.
I will stay on topic, I promise. I want to say thank you for even considering this. We are definitely trying to find park space, open space in District 4. It's very important to us that we do this. So thank you for considering it. I do love Mr. Antipas's statement. Don't committee it to death, please, because we could be in committee for years. And in that time frame, that lot is sitting empty. But I do love the idea that we could put together an MOU. Board of Ed agrees to it, Town Council agrees to it. Maybe it even includes you don't allow, full structures that are going to be in there for long. But if we can use it as a field, or we can use it as open space, and we can advertise that as open space in that area so that people know that it's there. I'll be honest, I've lived in this town 20 years. I had no idea that space was back there. And it's beautiful. It is absolutely stunning, and it's lovely and should be used. So thank you for considering it. Hopefully we could get an MOU, with your permission, we could get an MOU started, move it forward, and get this going and to bed very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Adam or Dave?
I agree with everything Dean
Adam.
said. Oh, my goodness. On topic, right? Right. I agree with everything Dean said and everything Jill said. And that's all I have to say.
All right, well, thank you.
That's it.
Hello, Dave Good. Thank you again for considering this. I live in the direct vicinity of this. I live up on top of Walker Hill, and my son and I are very familiar with not just the kids in Navy housing, but kids who are living in the hotels. I just want to bring that up again. This is an opportunity to get something done relatively quickly. That these kids who 5 people living in a hotel room, they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anywhere. And this is right in their neighborhood. So, like Dean said, I'd really appreciate any way we could expedite this to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so I will ask the superintendent and the town manager to get together and draw up a MOU.
Draft.
Draft.
Yeah.
All right.
Then pick a part.
And do it as soon as possible, so like Mr. Good said, we can get this going, and we don't committee it to death.
Sounds like a good
Okay?
plan.
Is that okay with you, John?
Perfect. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your
Anytime.
attendance and the rest of the town council members that came tonight. All right?
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, but next we're talking about lottery and enrollment,
Right.
which is a good segue.
So
Here's the
Susan,
news,
we're
like,
depending
we have
on
like
you to get in
100
contact
Yeah, I
with
am.
John
I got
as
it.
soon as possible. Okay, and get that rolling, all right?
Dean, you want to give me a sample MOU?
Oh, yeah, Dean, do you want to help Susan with that?
Seeing as I'm the chair of the Finance and Facilities Committee.
Yeah.
All right, all right, Dean will help you with that. Thank you, Dean, appreciate it.
At least we'll have something to start with.
No problem.
Thank you.
Next, lottery process and lottery results. Somebody's hidden over there.
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for coming tonight and giving us all this good information.
Please, thank you. So yeah, we really just, this is our 5th year running the full intra-district lottery, and there's a full team of us that work very closely together on this to make sure it's running smoothly and improving it every year, right, evolving as the years evolve. And so we just wanted to share with you the whole, like give you a little inside look as to what that looks like, the information that we get out of it, and the impact it has on our school and our community. So let me see. So here we go. So first of all, our timeline. This is something, lottery is really something that happens throughout the year. There are periods in the lottery where it's more active and there's a lot more going on, but we're really working year-round on promoting the magnet themes. And Rebecca, please jump in with anything you'd like to add. But we do spend the majority of the year just really promoting those themes in different ways, whether it's through STEM nights at school or outreach in the community, going to Children First events, just to familiarize people with the different options for magnet themes. and let them know and help to draw them into finding their passion, really, for children to find what interests them to pursue that. So in terms of the timeline, November and December typically are our starting points for when we begin to ramp things up and really look at opening up our lottery for the following school year. During this time period, we review policy that's in place, have conversations about what in the policy is working, isn't working, bring it back to you if there isn't something that really needs to be tweaked or fixed or adjusted in the policy. We update the lottery application, which is found in the enrollment portal, and we really do this on a yearly basis because things are evolving, and we are always trying to improve the information we gather through those lottery applications. We want to make it as user-friendly for families as possible, so we're constantly updating those lottery applications and the system features that are included with it. And we begin really outreaching to the community that the lottery application will be open soon, the window will open, what that time frame looks like, what they need to do. It's posted on the website. We do targeted communications out to families. January is typically when the lottery application opens. It opens in relationship to the new year registration. So what happens in January is we open up our next school year registration. So incoming kindergartners, families that may be moving in from out of state or getting ready to move into Groton can begin to register for the following school year. We are doing that while simultaneously working on this year's registration, because as you know, we have students that register for the current school year right up till June. So, that is manned at the same time. The lottery application window opens same time as the new school year registration. And we begin those communications, and we target families specifically that are new to the community or returning. February and March, we just really continue really targeted communications with specific groups if we see that we're lacking in one place, such as maybe our preschool enrollment, upcoming kindergartners, what else? I mean, really everything K-5, we target those groups.
Our out-of-district magnet students.
Out-of-district magnet students. And then also, making sure that families know if they have incoming students. So maybe there's children already in the system, but they may have younger siblings. We like to make sure that they're aware of the policies that go along with, and if there's a sibling in one school, we want them to know about the preferences. So really it's targeted and just trying to assist people with completing the application. We start to really look at, during that time period, that enrollment comparison. So as the enrollment for the next school year opens, we compare it to last year, month by month, and what does that look like? Are we on track? Are we a little bit, further behind with our enrollment? Are we a little ahead? Because that will play into how many seats we potentially will open.
We conduct the intent to return form, which typically happened at spring conferences at the elementary schools, but we have that form digital now, which is a more efficient way to do that. And families fill that out, just letting us know, if they're rising to the next school, if that's their plan, or if they plan to, return to their current school, just the next grade, and that's all very helpful in evaluating. We did start asking on that form if they have any younger siblings who are planning to, begin school or, maybe eligible for preschool here.
And it also gives us a good sense of how many students we might be leaving through typically military moves, right? So they typically will have a sense of that, and we can use that information to make decisions about lottery seats as well. That also includes retention lists, so potential students that could be retained, we have to account for that as well when we're thinking about lottery seats. So all of those pieces really come together. We look very closely at all of that, and we begin that whole process in February and March.
Could you tell me about the community outreach? What exactly do you do for community outreach?
Multiple things. So in terms of community outreach, we do targeted messages to families that are currently in our community. We do targeted messages to out of district because we have their information as well. So let's say they may be at the Friendship School. We can target that group, that population, to let them know that the lottery application has opened, that they could register, and how to go about doing that. We do it through Parent Square in that sense.
We work with our partners. We work with Children First Groton and do outreach through them. And we were at their event this spring, which we've gone to the past few years. We also work and conduct outreach to all the area preschools and our partners in the preschools. We, not this year, but last year, we did a very successful kindergarten night event, which was attended, I think, by over 100 families, 120 families. Due to some staffing challenges, we did not do that event this year, but it's something we'll look to do again next year. Each of the schools have a video that highlights their magnet theme, which we highlight on the website as well as social media. Those videos will be due for a refresh this year. They're about 2 years old. We try to do refresh the videos every other year.
And just those who are registering that may not be aware of the intra-district lottery, our registration team also helps to promote that, and we'll send them to the appropriate people to tell them more about the different options that there may be.
We've gone out to Branford Manor and done in-person events at Branford Manor, welcoming people to come in for assistance with registration or lottery applications. We've done the same in military housing. So we try to also go out in person to different locations.
Thank you. That was a Matthew question.
That's well, it was on topic, so that's good. So, anything else?
No, I'm sure there's other things, but yeah.
So in April is really when our lottery window closes, and then we begin vetting applications, and we have that in future slides, what that process looks like, including the various data points and how we go through those to make some decisions about which, what amount of seats in which grade levels in which schools. We look at the demand in, the demand out for each grade level in each school. And that's also when the lottery is drawn, is during that April time frame.
Usually mid to late April.
Yep. And so May is really monitoring. We monitor enrollment. We continue to monitor enrollment. That is ongoing all year. It's just how many, we could be monitoring 2 different systems, 2 different reports, right? Current and future school years.
We technically, actually, for quite an extended period of time, have 5 open registration forms at one period of time. We have the current year registration form, the next year registration form, the magnet lottery application, the returning student registration form, which is a form for any magnet students coming back to the district now, the current school year, and then returning student registration form for the following school year. So we're actually monitoring 5 different forms, all within the same system, but 5 different forms. Yeah, it's a lot.
And so May is really the time we begin to have conversations with building principals and superintendent and assistant superintendent and human resources about what kind of seats, how many seats is feasible depending on all of the factors that we talked about. How many seats can we potentially open? How many additional seats can we open? So dependent on acceptances and declining families for one reason or another. Is there room to continue to open up a few more seats if there's wait lists in some places? So that's really what happens in May. And then June through October is really more of the lull period where we're dealing with more one-offs and families coming in. They obviously weren't in Groton at the time. They couldn't participate in the lottery, but they have an extreme interest. We'll look to see, is there availability? What is the theme that they are interested in? Can we support that? Especially at military families coming in, we really try to work with them if they have a strong preference for a school and there is availability there. We do try to place them. So that's really like an overview of the timeline of what the whole process looks like.
Lauren, do you think we should set aside some seats for the late coming military families?
So we
do.
It's more of an informal, we don't set a certain number because of all those pieces and it is so fluid. We could have some students leaving, so then another seat opens up somewhere. We really pay close attention and we always try to leave enough room where we do have options for families that do come in after the fact, especially, midsummer, right up till the beginning of the school year. Yeah.
And we even have a statement on the registration page on the website to our military families saying if you're interested, we're committed to our military families. If you're interested and you've moved over here over the summer, to reach out to us to discuss if there's, seats available. And that's consistent with what Learn does as well at their magnet schools.
And so really magnet outreach and recruitment, who are we targeting? And Rebecca, you're welcome to speak to this because you do a lot of this work through Parent Square especially and the website. But really our target is any incoming kindergarten students, so children who are turning 5 on or before September 1st of that school year. They're a main target for us, and that is our largest group of students who enter the lottery. And we'll look at those numbers in a little bit. New students moving into Groton K-5, so as we said, military families, families coming from other communities that are new to Groton and may not be familiar with them. We try to target them through the registration process and community outreach. And then our current in-district and out-of-district rising K-5 students who may be interested in a magnet opportunity. So our preschool, for example, we really look to target them. What are their interests? Where would you like to go to school? Typically, many of our preschoolers are obviously at one of the two places they're offered, Mystic River or Thames. So they fall in love with the building, and so we do see a lot of those students who are actively applying in the lottery to remain in those buildings, because it's not a given just because the preschools are only offered there. They're not offered in every building. So they do fall in love with the schools, and so we do get a lot of the applications from those students as well.
It creates demand at those two buildings.
Yeah. And so the actual process, so once the lottery, and please stop me if you have questions along the way.
So those students don't get first choice then?
No, they don't. No. But we do have students that do get first choice, or not even first choice, but a preference is what we call. They're priority students, and that's actually part of what we do. We vet each application just to ensure accuracy. So as an example, did they include what their attendance zone school is? Is it the correct school? Because that helps us understand where kids coming out of, where do they want to go, right? Demand in, demand out. Choice seating accuracy, so did they put the school that they really want? Is it at the right grade level? We do have two priorities. One is the sibling preference, Bev, and that's kind of what you were just alluding to, right? So obviously, right, we want to keep families together for ease. So siblings do get a priority, and we do a really nice job of getting those siblings placed if there is a student that's already a magnet student at another school. Typically, we can support most of those sibling preferences, and then we also have a homeschool preference, and that actually just started. That's a new preference. Last year was the first year that we offered it, and that is really comes out of the policy change, right? Where if you're moving, because we do have a lot of transiency just within Groton, not kids leaving Groton, but just kids within Groton moving from one area of town to another, they would have to then move schools, right? So if you recall last year when we went through the placement policy, it was determined that if they wanted to reside at the school they'd been at, they could stay, just to keep that educational consistency for them. So if that's not the case, if there was an enrollment cap, which unfortunately, and you'll see in later slides, that it's a necessity at this point. We run out of space in schools, and then we have to place them in other buildings. They have the option to enter the lottery to go back to their home school for the following year. So there are those two preferences, and that's the reason for them, just to make sure we're really trying to accommodate families. So in terms of the data points. We just kind of went over that some. We look at the enrollment at each school and grade level on a weekly basis. Every week we look at how it changes, the influx, how many kids have come, how many new kids are we looking at, how many old kids, how many rising kids do we have for each grade level in each school. New student registration, we look closely at the portal, and not just who has registered, but who's in the process of registering. Because we have different places in our registration portal, so we can see who has even started an application, who has started it but is missing documents, who has completed it. So we look at all of those pieces to help us make some decisions. That also includes the intent to return form, which we just spoke about, and those retention lists. And by May, it's pretty solid who will be retained and who will not. So that we have some good information there as well, and we just help that helps us to figure out which grade levels do we need to keep more room in, where do we need to make movement in our openings. And then
How's that looking now, the retention list? Do we have a lot of students that are being retained?
This year we had 21 students retained K-5. So all 5 schools, K-5, we had 21 students that were retained.
Mostly, though, it's in the primary grade.
Yeah, oh
It's
yes,
like
for
a
sure.
kindergarten, and it used to happen even more often when the age was different. Now that the age, and we've been doing the transition K, that has really helped.
Yeah.
Give kids just the right
Readiness.
yeah.
Matthew?
Have you had a chance to talk with Clint? There's a lot of data processing and a lot of moving parts that I hear. Have you had a chance to chat with Clint about the potential for AI to be able to give you some more efficiencies and make your life easier? If not, consider it.
I have not had a conversation specific to that, no.
Well, ball's in your court.
Yeah.
It's an idea.
And then we look at analyzing patterns of movement. So where is there the most demand? Where is there the least demand? Who is wanting to go to which school from which building? So we look at all of these pieces in determining which seats are available, if we'll open up any additional seats. One new piece, as we said early on in that November, December time period, we look for efficiencies. How can we improve the overall process? How can we make it more efficient? How can we make it more user-friendly? And one thing we did implement this year, which really, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it made an enormous difference in the turnaround of how we were able to offer additional seats. We implemented what's called a seat acceptance deadline. So really, and it is policy, right? You should be accepting or declining your lottery seat. If you're offered a seat, you have 10 days to accept or decline the seat. So at that 10th day, it will automatically decline the seat if you haven't responded. In the meantime, it does send out multiple reminders at day 7, day 5, day 3. It counts down.
Warnings.
There are multiple warnings, and then on day 10, at the end of day 10, it will decline the seat. And this
We also make phone calls in that time period because
Right.
we never want a seat getting declined on a family who we haven't connected with.
Right. So, yeah, there's
That
that.
personal touch is important.
Absolutely. But it does go through so that we can actually see now who has not responded, who has been declined. So it gives us a real quick, tangible number of how many more seats can we potentially open at each grade level. So that was a pretty significant shift this year, I think, personally, just in
That's a
terms of,
great feature to take advantage of.
managing it. And so this is the outcome. This is our summary report for the 25-26 school year. And so you can see each school, how many seats were offered in each of the schools, and that's across K-5, how many students were actually seated, and then how many students were waitlisted. And what's important to note here is that the wait list, some families may have been on more than one wait list. Some schools you may notice where there were, as an example, Charles Barnum, there were 5 seats that were offered, only 4 were seated. What happened there is wherever there was a decline from a family for one reason or another, whether it's the lengthy commute or whatever the case may be, that particular grade level in that building, there was no one on the wait list, so there was no one to fill the seat. So what happens is now that seat is available. If we do have someone that comes in over the summer that may want that spot, it's available. So we'll use this to help us make some of those decisions as well.
So I've got a quick question on that. Those numbers, are they for seats newly offered this year?
Yes.
And then there are additional seats of people that are already taking advantage of the magnet system. And
Yeah,
are
you're going to
already-
see that slide, yeah.
Yeah. So this is specific to the students who were offered seats for this upcoming school year only.
And anyone that's already attending is.
That's a different bucket.
It's a different slide.
Yep. And so here's a breakdown of how students were placed at each building. And you'll notice kindergarten is separated out because this is the bulk of our lottery application. Once students are placed in the magnet system in their respective school, they typically tend to stay. So our numbers as the grade levels go up, we don't see as many students interested in making a shift or a change. So out of the, 86 seats that were offered, 65 of those went to kindergarten students.
And you're going to see more about Charles Barnum, but the number of students that are in that region as their home-based school is in the over 400, and the school really doesn't have that capacity. So it's a good thing that we've done this lottery system because we couldn't fit them in that school. So it gives us, so you won't find a lot of movement coming into Charles Barnum because a lot of the seats are already taken by students who are in that area.
On this chart, what does it mean? Like, for instance, Charles Barnum, there's one. It seems like someone's already in the attended zone school, and then they were lottery seated at Charles Barnum. I don't understand that.
So when you see that particular situation, at the kindergarten level, it's more specific to it could have been, or it was, a student who last year was the only year we offered TK because we had it in almost every building. So if you entered into the magnet lottery for a TK spot, you're now in the system in that school. So this could potentially be a family that had decided, really want to go back to my home school. I don't think I want to stay at the magnet school that I was at again, because for various reasons. It could be a long ride, on the bus. Maybe there's another sibling. I don't have the specifics as to the why they chose to do that, but that's typically a situation where they were a magnet student wanting to return to their attendance zone school. In a few cases, we did have this year, because of that early entrance option, meaning if you're someone who is interested in kindergarten but your birthday is after September 1, you have to go through a screening process to be accepted early into kindergarten. So in a few of these cases, they entered the lottery to hold that seat to avoid potentially an enrollment cap as well. So we did have that, if that makes sense. Meaning they weren't screened ahead of time.
Does that make sense?
Not all of it, but I'm not going to hold everything up.
Yeah.
It makes sense to you. That's what it is.
Any other questions on this page?
So you see far fewer in the grades 1 through 5 movement.
So our grade 1 through 5, this is the placement. We had a total of 17 students placed. And in this case, where you may see CB as an example, returning to CB, that could have been an enrollment cap where they wanted to return to their home school. That could have been a magnet student that wanted to return to their home school. So those would be the reasons where you would see them taking a seat at their own school, and that's based on policy. Because really what we're trying to do is capture everyone through the lottery process. That's where we're trying to avoid what used to be practice of one-offs, like people calling the superintendent's office and wanting permission to move schools, and then you lose track of the whys and who am I letting in and how am I letting them in, why, right? Like it becomes cleaner.
It's more of a fair process.
And thank you. and it's more of a fair process.
Any questions on this one?
Oops, sorry. Go back. And so here is historically our lottery results, and you'll notice in blue are the number of lottery applications year over year that are submitted. In the orange color, it's lottery seats that have been available, and then the yellow lottery seats that were filled. Now, obviously, in 21-22, that was the first year of the intra-district lottery where all schools were included, and that's evident by, right, the
That was the year we had Mystic River and Thames River opening. We had several other school buildings that were closing. So that's why there's such a large spike that year, because there were a lot of students who at that point in time did decide, well, I can either go to what's going to be my new zoned school, or maybe I want to apply somewhere. And keep in mind, before 21-22, Northeast Academy and CK were magnet schools, and they were operating independent lotteries. So that 21-22 was when we had a single system for the intra-district lottery.
We discussed the shape of the data, and we said, we really feel that, a lot of people are very satisfied. You don't see a lot of movement, so once they've gotten into their school, there could be some sense of satisfaction as well as not having as many seats to go to.
Well, that first year really is your bubble year because of the school closures and the school openings. So that year is certainly a huge anomaly. And then you go down to your 156. The 23-24 year, you see a little bump. And in looking at that data, you see a bump because of sibling preference. So now you have a large group of siblings coming into kindergarten from that 326 year. I think there were 33 siblings that year. So the data aligns that bump in that year, because a lot of times you see a grade gap of 2 years, right? A fifth grader has a third grade sibling, a third grader has a first grade sibling. And then you see the bump down to 161. It levels off again the following year. But what's interesting about what that 161 number is, that year was is this current school year where we have TK in every building, and we did allow TKers coming into this school year who had, primarily for the purposes of sibling preference, to enter the lottery and apply for TK in the lottery last year. So there were 18, right?
There were 18.
18 TKers who entered the lottery last year. If you took those 18 out of that 161 and added them to this year, when those same students are now entering kindergarten, you would see that the 24-25 and 25-26 numbers are nearly identical, 143 and 142 respectively. So, again, that first year, really that anomaly, the 180 kind of a bump of the siblings from that first year, and everything else has maintained a fairly level spot.
Any questions on this page?
And here is our historical lottery demand by grade level. And you can see that kindergarten is always typically the highest demand, right? As kids are entering the school, they want to get into a school where they connect, right? They love the theme. They're interested in the topic or the theme of that building, and then they want to stay there through their elementary career. So we always typically see kindergarten as our highest grade level, and you can see that it kind of tapers off the older the students get.
Which is good. It shows, I think, that most students are fairly happy with the building that they're in, the theme that they picked, and we're seeing less movement there.
And so this is just for your visual, just to be able to visualize our different zones, attendance zones. And this will help you with the next slide that we're going to look at. But if you look at like the different boundaries and the size of the attendance zones compared to what you're going to see in the next slide, which is the enrollment information. I just wanted you to have this visual. And so what you're looking at here, and this is what I believe most of you have been asking for, which is where are our kids going and where are they supposed to go, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what is their current school that they're at versus where are they supposed to go? What is their attendance zoned school? And so when you're looking at this, and this can be tricky to look at for the first time, so let me help you orient. Across the top where you see CB, CK in red, okay, that's their attendance zone. So when you're reading that, you're reading down. So as an example, CB, we have 435 students that are zoned for CB. We have 223 students, K5, that are zoned for CK, if that makes sense. Do you see how I'm looking at the grand total along the bottom?
Yep.
Okay. So when you're looking down the side left to right, where you see in gray CB, CK, right? If you read across left to right, that is where they are currently attending, right? So we currently have 326 students at CB as of June 30th. We currently have CK, we have 357 students, if that makes sense. And so when you're looking at CB as an example, 292 students attend CB that are in their attendance zone. The rest of those students go to other schools.
And this is only K-5.
This is only K-5.
So remember, Mystic River and Thames River host another over 100 kids who are in the preschool program.
Closer to 200.
200, yeah.
So Lauren, does that mean like out of the 326 for CB, right? 3 go to Catherine Kanaski, 6 go to Mystic River?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just curious, do you know offhand the capacity, or carrying capacity at the various schools?
Ooh, that I do not know.
Sam could probably get that to us, but I don't think CB has really ever been over, or at least since I've been here, over like 325 to 350. I know that the larger schools, Mystic River and Thames River, can hold up to about 500, but when you add in those preschools, they're there.
Right.
Northeast and CK have always hovered between 380 and 400, 410. So they're pretty, they're pretty close if you add in the preschools to the Thames River and the Mystic River of what they usually typically are.
And just for a point of reference, so when we were talking earlier about enrollment caps and having to place kids in other buildings, CB is our hot zone. We typically, that's the building we're moving kids out of their zone and into another building.
And CK and Northeast tend to have a little more room.
They have more wiggle room, which is why we typically will be able to open up more seats at CK for lottery and for NEA. That's typically why we can always offer more seats at those schools too, because there is a little more wiggle room.
Mike?
So that hot zone so thank you for this chart, by the way. So for Charles Barnum, what you're saying is, if you go across that first line, there's like 3 plus 6 plus 5 plus 20, so like 30 or 40 students are coming into Charles Barnum from other attendance zones.
Yeah.
And then if you go down that first column, it's, I don't know what it is, probably like 150 students leaving the Charles Barnum attendance zone to go to another one of our schools.
And they wouldn't have fit there anyway, that many kids,
Yeah,
which
so
is
that's
so interesting.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have fit. Is that?
They would have been, yeah.
Is there like I guess functionally there's a certain, well that points to our earlier discussion, right? That the Charles Barnum zone does have more students that can fit in Charles Barnum.
So if you did build a school like the size of a Mystic River or a Thames River, it could hold the kids. But the lottery has caused us to level out our schools so that really when you look at class size, they're really the board's recommended class sizes because of this flexibility that we have with the lottery system. And parents feel good about it, that they have choice. That they can go to their attendance zone school or they can go to another school of their choice.
And then so kind of the Charles Barnum attendance zone is sort of a sender district or to other magnet schools. And as you said, the next one over, CK, is really receiving more students than it's sending out.
That's right.
Mystic River Magnet School is another sender to other schools. NEA's a receiver, and then I wasn't sure about the Thames River. I think it's more like a sender in terms of the number of students going to other schools is more than is coming in. Yeah, that's true. So it seems like CK and NEA are kind of net gaining students from this magnet, where the other ones are net losing students.
Right.
Even though they're slow both ways.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that by design, or is that just how it happens?
Well, in terms of the attendance zone boundaries that was.
Well, I think
that
it was
predates me.
pre-planned with McBroom and Malone and McBroom had really kind of, and that's why they designed those attendance zone schools so that they could fit better. And remember, we closed down Pleasant Valley and Mary Morrison, and those students really ended up going mostly to Thames River. And then your Claude Chester, SB Butler are mostly in the Mystic River. And I know Branford Manor was split prior to me even getting here with CK and Claude, you know. So
Branford Manor is split between CK and Mystic River.
And I just think about in the days of old when we were redistricting kids every other year, and remember we put all the fifth grade at Claude that one year, and just because we couldn't fit them, this is such a better plan than to have to redistrict children because all of a sudden a school gets filled and there's no room.
But so we have these two new bigger schools, Thames River and Mystic River, and those attendance zones are both senders to the intermediate-aged, intermediate-sized schools of CK and NEA. Is that sort of people want like that smaller school feel, or?
Well, I think
I don't think there's as many, and I don't think there's as many. I want to be careful with this because I think that because of the preschool, we need all those other seats for the preschool. So it gets up to capacity with the preschool, the specialized programs, and the students that they have pretty fast. Like our Ks and 1s are kind of full at Thames River, and so they can't really accept a lot of kids.
We do tend to offer fewer seats at Mystic River and Thames River. There may be wait lists there, but because of their attendance zone enrollment, we typically, for example, Mystic River, we offered 11 seats, whereas at CK we offered 34. So there were students waitlisted at both of those schools, but we simply can't offer additional seats because of enrollment. So it may seem, I think, that they're heavy senders out, but it's just, there still is very much demand for both of those schools. We just can't accommodate the demand.
Thank
you. Ian, then Adrian, and then Jen. Ian?
Thank you. I appreciate this data, the collection that's been brought out. Thank you. I think it would be good. I don't know if Matt was asking this explicitly or not, but I would say that I'd be interested to know what the actual mathematical capacity is of all these schools. Like, if every single seat was what the max capacity, as the whole number. That'd be a nice little kind of sidebar to this, just to understand like how close they are to capacity. It is interesting. Nothing here surprises me that much. This is kind of the trend I expected to see. So I appreciate the efforts to bring it together. And the only thing I was curious about was looking at that map previous. It just seems like there's like this very strange arrangement between the Thames River District and the Catherine Kalinowski districts, where you have that kind of gerrymandered isthmus of the peninsula sitting out there. What was the just sidebar conversation? I guess is how did that come to pass? Why not?
I just explained it, Ian, that Thames River came from the two military schools, the Pleasant Valley and the Mary Morrison. And then the Mystic River, when Claude Chester and S.B. Butler closed, that came in. And some of it had to do with economic balancing, too, as well, and racial balancing, that we were, really given a letter by the State Department that we had to do something. And the Groton 2020 plan was the thing we had to do, and it did the job. Our schools are much better balanced now.
They are.
They are almost perfectly balanced, so.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I guess, that'd be the demographics that were in those areas.
Right.
Had to be in the enhanced zone. Have a more natural baseline.
Right, and I think the whole premise too, Ian, was that we wanted our kids to be able to go to school with their friends, so we didn't want a lot of disruption. So they were going in large groups with their friends to these new buildings, and families were going together, and that just seemed to make sense, that it wasn't, and then we were adding the lottery so that they could have choice on top of that.
Dean?
Yeah.
No. I'm looking at Adrian. I'm saying Dean. Adrian. My bad.
All right, I want to thank you for putting this together, because I think, some board members had questions about our all kids moving in one direction, and this does a great job of showing that everybody is kind of moving all over the place, and giving us real numbers for that. So I think we can check the transplant map. Hopefully we get updated every, annually or something like that, but I really appreciate
We'll keep track of it now.
I really appreciate that. And this was surprising when I sat down and went over it, that students move all over the district. And what I've heard from people, the last year and a half or so, is that we spend a lot of money on busing. But I kind of wanted to reiterate what Susan said, is the busing does cost extra money to do this, but it also lets all of our schools run very efficiently, where we don't have schools where one third grade classroom has 26 kids and another school where the average class size is 15 or 16. So I think that my take on this is that we are running more efficiently in each individual school, from a financial standpoint as well.
Adrian, may I add to what you're saying? So when we do have schools or a student there's an enrollment cap where they should be going to school, that is something we look very closely at, as well as we literally look to see what the student's address is and what are the options, like are there bus stops close by or other children on that street or in that area, and then we provide them with, maybe one, if possible, a choice or two. These are your two choices to try to keep that as efficient, the transportation, as possible, given, the routes that do exist.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to keep them
All right.
on that.
I have a question about that a little bit, but Ian mentioned capacity, to know what the capacity is at the schools. I would also be interested in that because of all this new development and possible submarines, but I would caution that capacity number not necessarily be like the fire code capacity, but our functional capacity.
Right.
Because we're told that 1,050 kids can fit in the middle school, and I think that functionally we've shown that not to be possible. So I think that capacity would be really nice for the board to know, just so we know what our need is, and if there is an influx of children that we're planning for, then we can plan accordingly.
And how many classrooms, too? Because we don't have a lot of extra classrooms, you know.
Well, I
So
know,
that's the
I think
other
that's going to
thing.
go into the capacity,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So if we can, I know we try to keep 20 kids or something like that in a first grade classroom, but if it can go to 22, but 25 would probably just be not reasonable for that type of classroom. So, that's my, I think that would be a great thing to know for lots of reasons right now, or not right now, but in the next few weeks. And then my last thing is, how is the lottery actually done? Do you guys have like a round tub of ping pong balls with numbers on them or something?
It's technology, yeah. It's a portal that we plug in specific information and specs, and, once all the applications are in there, it processes it, and it spits out the information to us.
All right.
All
So
digital.
just for those people that think it's not just my friends that get the.
No,
it's
Closing our eyes
All right,
and
yeah,
going
no,
in
I
a
was just
bucket.
wondering.
it's fully random with those preferences in place that Lauren.
Yeah, with the modifications on it. All right. Well,
Brandon's good, just as long as you took my kids.
again, thank you for putting this together. I really appreciate it.
All right, Jen, you're on.
Just had a question. So if you had a school where it's full, right, nobody wants to move out, so then no one can move in. So like one of them was like 5 or something. So how is the magnet program being worked there? Because then like everybody from that school district just stays in that school.
Well, I think you can see that we were able to open seats, at least at the kindergarten level at every school, not necessarily in the upper grades at every school, but definitely at the kindergarten level at every school. We are able to open seats.
And where would I see, where can I see that?
That was
Come back, page.
We can go back to the slide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was on 6. Am I reading that right? 6.
Right before that one, before 1 through 5.
So here's kindergarten.
Yep. And see that the grand total is 65, I believe.
So like, okay, so then like in Charles Barnum, it's only 2, and then Mystic River is only 7. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're trying to achieve racial or financial imbalance and we can only put 2, I guess, how are we really impacting anything? Or is it because now CK and, which is the acceptor ones?
CK and AA accepted the highest.
Because now those schools are more diverse, that takes up the whole district, even though the other schools, no?
Northeast has always been very far from the average. They've been like, I can remember maybe 10%, and now they're up to 40%. So they've really gotten closer to the mean, which is really 55 to 65%, both free and reduced lunch and, racially. So they had room to grow, and they have gotten closer.
Yep.
And I think Charles Barnum was pretty much, it's below the average, but it's really close. It's within 5% naturally.
I guess I'm trying to understand, because Northeast is one of the schools that doesn't get free and reduced lunch.
Right, because they're only 40% free and reduced lunch,
Okay.
not 65 or
Not
75.
Okay.
yeah.
So.
And CK was really my only Title I school when I got here 11 years ago, and now there are 4 with, Thames River, Mystic River, CK, and then the middle school.
Okay. I was just trying to see, like, how are we going to achieve what we are if, like, people aren't moving, right?
Right.
And that is the goal, to be able to enable as much shift. And certainly, I think it is a goal to be able to open up, potentially more seats. And we're hoping as things level out, and hopefully we don't have as many enrollment cap situations, that will start to free up more seats. Because that does put a burden on the schools when we get into those situations where there we're reaching enrollment caps and then having to displace, and that just has that trickle-down
Yeah.
effect.
And if Balfour Beatty moves to really prioritize the military moving in because of the Columbia class, then you're going to see another, potential growth that would be the zone school. And so even more reason why that site might be the best if there's ever the appetite to build.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to understand, like, rack it in my head, like, how are we gonna, like, make these shifts, right?
I know.
So,
Think about that
okay.
too.
But,
Yeah.
but you don't want them riding the bus.
I'm blanking on this, Lauren. We don't ask race on the form, correct?
Oh, good.
No, we can't, and we cannot use race or any of that for seating.
No,
Good.
it's just totally random.
It is totally random from that perspective, and
But you do see people moving around from place to place in town, so.
Do you see, like, if we were ever to get capacity, do you ever foresee somebody, let's say they live, I'll just use my old neighborhood, they live in Bel Air, and they're supposed to go to Mystic, but since we're at capacity, you're going to tell them that they need to go to Charles Barnett, or whatever other school. Do you ever see telling a family that they live in a certain district that they can't go to their home district, that they have to go somewhere else?
Oh, frequently.
That's what the enrollment.
We
cap
try
is.
to
That's the
give them a
enrollment.
choice, though. There might be, there are these two places
Okay.
that you can go, you can choose.
That part I
It
didn't
tends-
understand. Yeah.
It tends to happen more at Charles Barnum, where you have the people moving in the Navy and
And then they go
getting
to-
acclimated and
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
not as much capacity.
Okay.
Mr. Antipas.
So, just so I understand, I did my arithmetic, and so the two schools that see a net influx, if you will, are CK and Northeast. CK's theme is STEAM, Northeast is arts. The others have an outflow. And I think you addressed this. Can I or can I not infer from this that STEAM and arts are among the 5 themes, the most popular themes? I cannot infer that.
No, they have more room to put kids.
They just have more room to put kids.
Right. I would say all of our themes are pretty steamy.
I would-
They have a little bit of the arts and marine science. So I think that we really done a nice job with our themed schools, and it does cause a desire to, want to sign up for some of the other schools other than your own districted school.
I guess.
It could look that way, though, Dean.
I guess ultimately my question is this. We have 5 schools, and so presumably we ought to have 5 themes. I don't know why that's the rule. If I'm going to make an extreme, give you an extreme hypothetical. We could have 5 elementary schools and 2 themes. In other words, you have more than one school with a theme. So people say, well, I want my kid to do STEAM. Well, we happen to have 2 schools to do STEAM. Okay? How do we know that the 5 themes are equally popular?
We have talked with Ben Moon, who, in regards to the Career Pathways grants, about doing a survey of our current magnet families and trying to glean some of those insights from them. I can tell you that Thames River's theme is extremely popular. I think the themes that are a little more tangible or folks understand, like arts, like STEAM, like environmental marine science, CB and Mystic River's themes are a little more broad, but very much, I think, developing and growing, especially under Ben's leadership with the themes. So I expect to see potentially some shifts there. And those themes are still, because there are kids that the parents want like the Discovery theme at CB, they want them to be able to explore a wide range of topics. They don't know that their kid's an arts kid or a STEAM kid or an outdoorsy kid. So they're still very, very popular. I do think the age of the building is a factor at CB if you're choosing between some schools, and there's two certainly brand new schools and two still, I think, very new schools.
Right.
That
The
has
kids tell you to say that.
that has
That's what I
some appeal.
Well, so we can see where the demand in is, right? So when we look at, the lottery applications and what people's first choice, so they're given more than one choice, and they could be waitlisted at either one of those places, but their first and second choices, the demand in at CK is the highest by far, with Thames River behind it, but then NEA and Mystic River are not too far behind that. Truly, CB is the anomaly where we don't seem to see as great of a demand in. The other piece to that, and this kind of couples what you were saying about Ben Moon and the Magnet Steering Committee and the pathways and really connecting it all K-12, is we are looking to do a survey to families that have participated in the Magnet program to find out the why. Why did you choose that school, right? Why did you potentially want to exit your attendance zone school? Like, what are those reasons? So we are looking into that as well. But in terms of just demand, that tells us a lot about the themes of interest, right?
And that's
so
how we started, is with a survey. That's how we got these themes, because we surveyed people with all different, we even had classical studies. Do you remember that, Dr. Ackerman? And so there were lots of different choices, and we really wanted to know from our families what they were looking for.
So are we approaching this thing from, say, the point of view of a restaurant? We're going to have on our menu what people want? Or we're going to say, look, these are the 5 items on the menu, and to the extent that some of the items may not be so popular, what we should be doing is better marketing or developing those items. So is this going to be driven by what we think people ought to be signing up for, even if some things are more obviously popular than others? People know what STEAM is, or they know what arts is. They may not know what Discovery is. Or are we going to say, look, what do people want? And if people want STEAM and arts, they don't want the other things, let's just give them STEAM and arts. How are we approaching the,
In the beginning.
This is a little bit off topic from this, but I am curious about, are we going to just keep pushing 5 themes, notwithstanding what people want, or we're confident people want the 5 things, or we just have to do better marketing, or how are we looking at it from the consumer point of view, if you will, or from the vendor point of view?
From the beginning, I think we were looking to see what our community was looking for. So we definitely listened to some of the things that were being said. I think once the theme started being developed, like it took CK a while with this STEAM theme to really, for parents and families to really understand, and it was marketed well. And they're our longest standing ones, so it doesn't surprise me that they're the most sought after. I think the more that the PTOs are involved, families are involved, and working with the staff and the principals, they're kind of cultivating their themes. And so it's kind of an evolution, I would say, when I think about CK and even Northeast, the first 2. Because I think Charles Barnum has talked about tweaking theirs at some point, but they're working with their school community to do that work with their teachers and with their PTOs. So I think when it comes from the people who are living it and it starts to change and grow and evolve, I think that's the best way to do it, which is kind of a combination of what did they want from the beginning and where are we now and where do we see ourselves going.
You all set, Dean?
I am, thank you.
Matthew?
Well, I started out with 1 question, and now I have 3. A good chess player tries to look out ahead. A world-class chess player can look out 7 moves. But we know a boat is coming. We know kids are coming. We don't know if it's 6 months or 3 years, but within that time frame, they'll be here. So will the additional influx of Navy-related students force us to reevaluate our zone maps? Will it force us to reevaluate our themes? And if the answer to that is even maybe, then we should be doing some planning. This is going to be our 5th year. this coming year is going to be our 5th year, and it seems an appropriate length of time to do an evaluation and to do some planning with some what-if scenarios. What if there are 200 more kids? What if there are 400 more kids? And start some planning so we don't have to play catch-up at the last minute.
So redistricting it really wouldn't be an option, and if you did have 200 students, 300, 400 students, you really would need another building.
Well, then, I personally absolutely agree with you, and that's why I think it's totally off topic, but your visit with the RTM is exactly what we need, regular visits from you and the chair.
I did appreciate that.
They need to hear the reality in advance. I'm off topic. Okay.
About that
Okay.
privately.
When we're talking about the success of the themes, to build on what Dean said, you're working with the families. I think we should also involve the faculty. The faculty should be involved in evaluating what they think works, what they think can be improved. Not that it's bad, but how can we improve it? And finally, this is completely off topic, but I see page numbers on here, and I want to incline and bow to thank you for that. You see how useful that is? Every presentation to the board needs to have page numbers. Thank you for doing it.
We aim to please.
All your data.
A quick question.
I just want to tell you, there's page numbers on the communications presentation, too. Just saying.
Susan, we have those buildings, those, what are they, portables outside?
When we need it.
What's in those portables?
Sam, what's in our portables behind here? Stuff. We have stuff all over the place.
Yeah, let's have a yard sale.
Student records in
Yeah.
there are
How long do you have to keep student records?
50 years for some.
How long?
50 years for some.
50? Yeah.
We're only allowed to release it per the State Department.
So there's no way to empty out those portables and maybe put them over there at Groton Middle School? No.
I wouldn't do that. They wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
move the portables.
Yeah, move them over there. If you need the space.
To the
There
middle
is a
school.
place you could put a new wing.
To the middle school?
They say the middle school needed more space, and you have these 2 portables or one out there. Is there a way to empty one of those portables and transport it over there to the Groton Middle School?
Oh, right now I'm in the middle of emptying out a garage at Fitch High School. The Wells Road storage space is being moved out so we can move the stuff from Fitch High School to there, and so on and so forth. So.
And then there's the Pleasant Valley that needs cleaning up too.
Okay. Jen?
So the student records can be digitalized then?
I think we have to keep the paper copies, but I could find out, but that would be a very huge cost.
Okay, and then instead of moving stuff around or maybe junk around, can we when can we dispose of certain items?
We have to follow a very clear plan with the town, and we do that in getting rid of things. They have to become obsolete, and there have been things that have become obsolete for sure.
There is something to be said for moving the classroom to the middle school. It puts in bold, flashing lights the fact that we are short of space. When we have 2 classes running simultaneously in the library, which reduces the capacity of the library to serve as a library, or a media center to serve as a media center. Having one building there to take a little bit of pressure off will make it very clear over a period of a year or 2 that we've got a space problem and the town needs to face it.
I don't think they will fix it right away because they're talking about athletic sales, and that's $56 million. So we're going to have to try to...
That's another question.
Yeah,
I'm not going
that's
to. That would be off topic.
We're going to have to make it really short, easy to read names.
And we have a couple more topics on our list to
All
cover.
right. Well, thank you, Lauren. Rebecca's still here.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lauren. It was a great presentation.
Yeah.
Now we don't need a transparent, what's it, transparent map?
Transparent.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You always do a fantastic job. You always do. Next on the agenda is the graduation credit requirement at Fitch High School, going from 27 down to a 25, which is the state requirement. Anne Marie sent us an attachment 3.
And she's
to look
online.
at, and she's online. So Anne Marie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Emery, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about this tonight. I've prepared for you a document, which I believe you all have. I'm not able to project this. Unfortunately, I'm having some technology issues tonight, so I had to borrow a laptop here from home. But if someone's able to project the document for me, I can kind of speak to it. Either way, I do have the document here at home and can speak to it. But if you'd like to see it projected at the same time I'm speaking about it, I can either way.
Let me check with Mark. He should have it. Let me. Continue.
Go ahead, continue, Anne Marie.
Okay, so I've prepared the document for you that shows a comparison between the State Department of Education requirements and Fitch High School's current requirements. See that Mark has brought it up here for you. And this document, or this chart, compares the State Departments on the left and Fitch High School's on the right. And what I've done is just really gone through the first part and I've color-coded just to make it easier to have it stand out, the various requirements. So the first part, or the first major bucket, is humanities. And under humanities, really what we see here is what falls under this bucket is English. You'll see here the State Department of Ed requires 4 English. We also require 4 English. State Department of Ed requires 3 social studies. We also require 3 social studies. State Department of Ed only requires 1.0 credits in the fine arts. We require 2.0 humanities electives. So you see there's a difference, and I've highlighted that just to make it stand out.
On that,
The next
part, on the state
Yes.
one, so like for the Fitch one, English, Social Studies, Humanities, 4 plus 3 plus 2 gets you 9 humanities.
Right.
On the state one, it's 4 plus 3 plus 1. So that gets you only to 8. So and I entirely agree with what you're saying the state requirements are, but there must be another. They must have a humanities elective as well.
Yeah, you'll see on the bottom there that what winds up happening is the State Department of Ed, they kind of have you fill in at the end, until you get to the 25. So whatever kind of at the end, whatever you wind up with, they kind of have you fill in the remaining requirements. It just kind of falls under general electives.
Yeah, but the humanities, the state does require 9, and under that subset, we only have listed 8.
8.
So
Yeah,
I think there's a humanities elective.
I think I might just be missing an elective there, but
Yeah.
really, the 4, it's only 4 English, 3 social studies,
Yeah.
and 1.0 in fine arts, so I might just be missing an elective there.
Yeah, and so for the state and Fitch, we both require ultimately 9 credits in humanities.
9 credits, 9 credits. In terms of the STEM umbrella, that umbrella, what falls under STEM, also 9 overall credits. You see here, the State Department of Ed requires 3 in math. We require 4. 3 in science. We require 4. And then there's a general bucket of STEM electives that the State Department of Ed requires, which includes that half credit in financial literacy. Fitch right now requires a 1.0 in STEM electives. And so you'll see here, again, you'll see some differences. The next bucket is physical education and wellness, as well as health and safety. The requirements are the same in this case. There's a world language requirement. The State Department of Education currently requires a 1.0. That was a recent increase in the last few years. That was from really no requirement to a 1. Fitch currently requires 2.0 credits. There's a mastery-based assessment requirement. currently 1.0 for both.
Could
And
you
then,
define a mastery-based assessment requirement? I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
sometimes it's referred to as a senior project, or let's say other places will refer to it as a
Capstone.
capstone requirement. Yes, it's also often referred to. Sometimes districts will incorporate, it will be a variety of different things. A community service sometimes is incorporated into that work. It's not the full requirement, but it could be half of that work. So there's a variety of things that will fall under that requirement.
And for Groton, it's our MYP personal project.
Or Navy.
For fish it is, yes.
Or naval sciences too, I think counts.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. They've got some kind of a, yeah.
So just on the master.
Yeah, again, school districts will handle that in a lot of different ways. Sometimes school districts will count if a student goes out and does an internship. Again, if the student does a senior project, a capstone project, a variety of community service things. So again, I've seen a lot of things fall under that bucket. And so, like an extensive research project, I've seen a number of things fall under this. The State Department of Ed is very flexible with this.
I just have a quick question on that, because
Sure.
I definitely support the mastery-based assessment as being very important to education. My reading of the state requirements is more about a school system can require mastery-based assessment rather than the state requiring all school systems. Because I was puzzled when I looked at some surrounding schools that they didn't necessarily have a credit place for this. Some do, some don't. So it's sort of we're allowed to offer we're allowed as a school system to require one credit mastery-based assessment.
Yeah, so Mike, it's funny because the State Department of Ed put it in place, and then it actually had highly encouraged districts to put it in place. And then I want to say within a year or two, then made it optional. And so I left it in, but it is something I think that has been made optional again. I did put it in the chart because it's highly encouraged, but it was something that was made as a requirement, and then, like I said, within a year or two, made optional. But you are correct.
Well, and I think our MYP program, which runs 6 through 10, kind of requires that extra credit in world language and also the MYP personal project. So those were put in place in particular for the MYP.
And it was just recently changed to optional again. So, again, this was something that was put in place and just recently changed as an back to optional.
Yeah, I guess my question goes to that, that specifically the MYP project. So are kids in class for a full year for the MYP project?
No. There is a global citizenship class, but it's only a semester class that outlines the project. I think that's for next year. It's only
So
half credit.
The MYP, because I've been involved in this a couple of times, the project is ungraded also, correct? So it's just a pass-fail is the way it's currently handled? Is that correct?
I believe that is true up to this point. I'm not sure, though, if it's going to be scored next year as part of the global citizenship class. I can find out for you, though.
All right, so the reason I bring this up is because if we're reducing credits, but there isn't really one credit hour for a full year for that one credit for the MYP program, we might be maybe meeting the rule of the law if we went down to 25, but it might be an effective 24 credits if we're going to count that MYP credit as the capstone credit. So, and maybe this is something we can talk about in curriculum, because I think that we should probably talk about that specific thing if we're going to talk about reducing credits. So that was my comment. I'd love, if I'm incorrect in my thinking on that, I'd love some clarification.
You have a comment about that, Anne Marie?
I'd actually like to look into that a little bit more, because right now the curriculum for that particular class, the global citizenship class, is under development, and so I'd like to see what what the people that are developing it are have in mind in terms of what they're creating, in terms of the expectations. So I'd like to kind of, before I say something that I don't have all the information on, I'd like to really see what they are currently creating and proposing.
Okay. Matthew? And then Jane.
Okay. I'm agnostic as to the number of credits we have. I am more concerned with the outcome of the graduates that we have in terms of their competencies and preparation for life. And what I'm going to channel Rita Volkman and Liz Porter, who some of you haven't served with, and their emphasis on what they perceived. I hope you correct me if I misunderstood them. The, dare I say, inadequacy of civics and citizenship preparation. I look around the country, whether it's left or right, whether it's red or blue, the level of knowledge of how civics and government function, the role of ordinary citizens like us in making this an ideal country, or at least better than it is. I think we, meaning the nation of K-12 education, is failing. We are not producing citizens, graduates who really understand their responsibilities and the privilege of being involved as functional citizens. So I don't know if it's a referral to you, Adrian, or not, but for myself, and I don't think you need to have credits for it. You want to graduate from Fitch High School, you've got to attend at least 2 government meetings a year, each in your junior and senior year. It doesn't matter if it's a planning and zoning meeting or a board meeting, but you have to attend some local government meetings.
Matthew, put that in a referral.
I will put it in referral, community service. So I would like to know exactly.
We used to have community service. I don't know what happened.
We're talking about global citizenship. Do we have a civics that focuses on the United States citizenship for more than a half a semester? I really don't know. I'm not being a wise guy.
Yeah, so civics is a required class by the State Department of Education, and we do have a civics class that all students have to take.
Is that a full year, a half a year, 2 years?
I'd have to look at what's required. I believe it's at least a half year, but I'd have to double check that in terms of if it's a half year, a half credit course, or a full credit.
Okay. Well, I'll ask you, Adrian, to look at, if it is a half a credit, the question that we ask ourselves, is that sufficient to produce the sort of adults we want to see come out of our school system? I'll cut it off right here. One last thing.
You got to put that in writing.
I will put it in writing. We are struggling in French to attract people. And notwithstanding my personal interest in that particular language, we need to offer 2 languages, at least 2 languages. If French isn't the one, then we need to figure out, A, how we strengthen French, or B, what we want to substitute for it, because we need to have more offerings than we have, and French is not working right now. I'm not putting down this, the academic, the teachers are doing a good job, don't misunderstand me, but we're not being successful in making that a vibrant course.
It's not only a Groton thing. It's happening kind of around.
Yeah, of course, it's not just a Groton thing. So many of our problems are not just a Groton thing, but we still have to deal with it.
Let's get back on track. Yes.
Would you mind, I just wanted, I know that you had asked me to put this together, but I wanted to mention something else just to kind of give context to the the talk here about graduation requirements, I wanted to do a little additional research, and some of the information that we have is not completely up to date because the State Department of Ed puts out information a little bit delayed about graduation requirements or graduation statistics. But I did do a little, in preparation for tonight's meeting, I did do a little additional research, and I found out that Fitch's most recent graduation rate, in terms of what's been published on the State Department of Education website, that's from 23-24. So that's, going back a couple of years now. That's the most recent that's been published. But that was 88%. That was the 4-year graduation rate for Fitch was from school year 23-24 was 88%. And again, that was the 4-year rate. The state average that same year was 88.9%. So we were below the state average, which I was surprised to hear, but that may be because, again, we are 2 credits above what's required. Now, there's something called ESSA milestones, and these are basically goals or targets that the State Department of Education gives to every school district in terms of goals or targets that we are supposed to hit, and we get targets or goals for example, English, math, 4-year graduation rates, 6-year graduation rates. There's a variety of different targets that the State Department of Education wants to give us. And so I looked at what was our ESSA milestone for that particular year back in 23-24 for a 4-year graduation rate. And we were supposed to be at 91% for that particular school year. So not only were we below the state average for that year, we were also below the ESSA milestone for that particular year. So again, it was just something for me. I know for me, I wanted to know where were we in comparison to other school districts, and then where were we in terms of in comparison to that State Department of Education target. And so I might not be as concerned about the number of credits that we're requiring of students if our students were meeting the targets and exceeding the other state, exceeding the other districts in the state. But it seems like right now our students are struggling a little bit to meet these requirements because they're not achieving in comparison to those other districts. That's just my input, but again, I defer to what all of you think about this.
And I think we also discussed, Anne Marie, that it was kind of flat from COVID. So we really didn't see any growth, but that was about the same time that we upped the ante and added the extra 2 credits. So I don't know. We're just predicting that could have something to do with it. But this is just a minimum, so even if you did reduce the minimum to 25, again, there are going to be kids who take more courses and more credit. And that we never want to put a lid on that. We want them to take as many as they can. But that's just saying that in order to make the requirement to graduate, the number would be 25 instead of 27. And it might be, we might see some more kids making that goal.
Yeah, so you're right, Susan. We went back a couple of years, back until I believe the 18-19 school year. And that was right around the same time that the State Department of Ed, where it was increasing the graduation requirements back from I believe it was 22 or 23 credits up to 25. And I certainly don't have the historical knowledge because I wasn't here in Groton, but it seems like that was around the time that Groton was increasing the credits from 25 or 26 credits up to 27. And I believe the graduation rates remained around 88%. So it didn't have an impact in terms of, and in fact, at one point, I believe they declined. It was around 88%. It dipped down around the COVID time to about 84%, and now it's back up again around that 23-24 school year up to 88%. I'd love to see our most recent graduation rates. Unfortunately, again, we don't get those more recent rates until we probably won't see the last year's school rate until maybe February of this coming school year. They just don't release them that quickly, unfortunately.
Question about No. Mike has a question. That's okay.
Thanks, and thank you, Anne Marie, for your viewpoints. Actually, that's why I referred this to the the cow or a curriculum. Because I am troubled by the graduation rates. Even the 5-year graduation rate is below state average, and that's right at around 90%, which means 10% of our students from every cohort are not getting a diploma from Fitch. And having a high school degree is immensely important in terms of earning potential. Not having one is quite a problem. And so for me, I'd like to see us get down to the 25 that the state requires. Just looking at the table that's been provided, which is very, very helpful. That orange one with electives.
Yeah.
That's probably the lowest hanging fruit, right?
Yeah.
And I could see that helping a student who's just struggling to get through, because now there's one less course overall they have to take if they have to retake something or just need a lighter load. That could help in that sense. I'm wondering about, we don't have to decide on anything, of course, tonight, with the STEM, my guess is a lot of people have problems with, as a STEM teacher, I'm guessing a lot of people have trouble with the STEM courses, and that can be an impediment. We have 9 credits in STEM, just like the state, yet we require 4 math classes, and we require 4 sciences, and we have less electives. I'm wondering if that redistribution can help, and maybe that's something that's separate from just talking about the total credits, but that's a discussion I'd like to have eventually. And coming in here, I thought, well, okay, the world language is, requiring one, just like the state, would make a lot of sense. That said, as I told my kids, most colleges want to see you have 3 years of
right.
language, or if you don't have 3 years, they're going to make you take it in college, and you want to spend your time otherwise, I think.
That you have to pay for in college. You have to pay for it in high school.
Right. So these are, of course, the minimums, and if you're interested in certain tracks, you have to go beyond those minimums, particularly in language. But then Susan was mentioning about maybe the MYP or I guess the MYP might require more than 1 year.
IB too.
Language.
IB.
For the world language, it does require 2 years.
For MYP?
Yep.
So that students have to take, I think it's that we have to make available, but I don't know much about that.
I'll find out for sure.
So that's the
Yeah.
question. I didn't think about that.
Kathy Wilson is my expert on that, so I'll check. Okay.
Thank you. And then the other one, with the mastery-based assessment, I was thinking of it as, well, this is that global citizenship. It seems like, as Adrian pointed out, if that's a half credit, we might get down to 25.5. Right? I'm serious.
But if we give them another half credit for something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That they might like.
And that might dovetail well because the financial literacy is half credit. It might fit that way.
Yep.
Let's just spitballing on that one. But in terms of master-based assessment, what I had prepared to talk about just briefly here is I thought it was just MYP, global citizenship, and I saw, well, it can be enabled sciences 1 as well. I thought that's definitely mastery-based. But then I was thinking about our EMT and nursing programs too, that mastery-based assessment with our career pathways that we already have and are opening up. I think opening up the ways that can be satisfied might really, really help people too. Not so much in that global citizenship would be a barrier to graduating, but more in we just lit a fire under someone's intellectual curiosity or vocational eagerness to get a degree and move on for that. So that's not as much of a credit count thing, but having great flexibility in that master-based assessment, I think would be wonderful. So.
Yes, I completely agree, Mike. I think that career pathways and experiences in those areas really is an opportunity to have students earn some credit in the mastery-based assessment area and being flexible. I don't believe it has to be one credit. It could be a half credit experience, especially if we have some flexibility in what we're, currently if we're over the number of required credits and we look at that. I do believe there's more than one way for students to earn that mastery-based experience. And so if we were to look at that, if students are participating in the CNA course, for example, or the EMT course, and they're having those experiences where they're going out into a job site, or, I just think that our kids are having really great experiences, and we should look at that as a way to meet that credit, or that requirement.
Jane?
So when I saw this, so when I saw this, like, my immediate, like, low-hanging fruit was world languages, because we should consider making that one, because if somebody really wants to go to college, or it's a prerequisite to where they want, what path they want to go to, then they can use the electives. Forcing, like, world language, in my opinion, to be 2 for someone who is not going to take the college path, then we're just forcing them to take languages that they may never use. It's just a thought. And then also, when I first saw this too, it's like, okay, as you can see, I'm advocating to put this to 25, because we shouldn't really be requiring more than the state, but the kids have the option to if they want. So making it 27 is just a hindrance and putting barriers up where, we already have issues. And then that comment with world language also falls in, when I saw this, into STEM. I don't know whether it's math or science, and moving one into an elective, maybe the science. But that's up to curriculum. That's where I was just seeing, because I don't know if that mathematics ends up making them go up to whatever, like pre-calc, and maybe somebody never needs pre-calc, right? And them getting up to whatever algebra 2 is good enough. So, like, I'm not, like, trying to dummy it down, but as you said, we need to cater both to the students in our career pathways who choose not to go to college, and then but we need to make sure, that they just get the bare basics and not forcing them into, like, a higher math class, which the 4 may require. And I'm not as familiar with, like, the curriculum and, like, all the math classes that people need to take.
All right. Anne-Marie, where do you think we should go from here?
Well, we certainly can. One thing I think that I'd like to do is meet with the high school team and explore some additional options with them. And I also believe the next steps would probably be bring this to, as next step, to the curriculum subcommittee with some additional recommendations. And if that's okay with Mr. Johnson. And from there, in terms of the next steps, and once that subcommittee determines, or approves those next steps, then we would bring it back to the full board for, I believe, approval.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, just quickly, I'd forgotten about this. I did look at some of the area schools, and according to what I could find out, Stonington, New London, Montville, and East Lyme, all their requirement minimum is 25, and then Waterford and Ledyard are 26. And then my other my question is, I think we have time to have this unfold during the school year, because functionally we wouldn't be changing the graduation requirements for this next graduating class, because they were already scheduled.
Right.
It couldn't have much of an impact. It's not in time to have much of an impact for them in terms of schedule change.
I don't think it was meant for this school year.
Yeah, so we do have time. I'm glad we're starting it now, but we're not trying to finish it right before September.
We're just having this discussion. Go ahead.
I'm concerned because I have the feeling that there's a false equivalency underlying our thinking. I may be wrong. What I'm hearing is that there's a presumption that lowering the number of credits are going to increase graduation rates. That may be true, but that's a hypothesis. We have no evidence for that. We can find that evidence if you think it's important to have that evidence. Susan can look at the people who didn't graduate. We don't need to know names or anything like that, and say, if we have a 300 class and we have 10% that aren't graduating, we've got 30 people roughly. Why didn't these people graduate? You won't know for everybody, but it's not going to be a linear relationship between not graduating and the number of credits here. We're going to tease this out as to how many of those folks would have graduated if we had 25 credits or 15 credits. And until we know that, we're operating under a false presumption. I really urge caution in looking at reducing numbers. I would like to respond to my colleague Jen about dropping a language. A language is not taught in high school to give you competency to be fluent in your conversation, nor to be able to take a part of work of literature in the language. It's to give you familiarity with another culture in the world in which we live, to understand that a language, Dean can tell you, you think in Greek, you don't think the same way you think in English or in French. A language is a frame of reference. This is a skill. This is part of the liberal arts that we're trying to teach. And I'll shut up, but please be very careful in what you're doing and the presumptions that you're making.
I think one thing is that they want to
mention my name.
Oh, please do. I love it when you read that.
So I hate skipping ahead of people, but I'm just saying, like, we are putting 2 more credits over schools like East Lyme and some of our surrounding peers where they're scoring better than us. So I'm just saying, like, why are we asking for 2 more credits and we're not even performing at, like, base level, right? So we need to...
You just want to level the playing field.
You just want to level the playing
We
field.
need to know from the research that Susan may choose or may not choose to do as to why the kids aren't graduating. Only then will we know if lowering or raising the number of credits plays a capital role in the outcomes, because it's the outcomes that we're concerned
I
with.
did hear Dr. Mancini say that her next step was to meet with the high school staff and gather the data. So I think she's on that, and I see her hand raised too.
Good.
So I think we both
Anne-Marie.
can do that, and it's a good time. Summertime's a great time to do this kind of project.
Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
So I completely agree with what Matthew's saying, that we really have to look more in depth, because we can't make assumptions that, that just by lowering the 2 credits, that's going to change all of our problems, because, that's as he said, that's a false assumption. It's something that, we can't just say that that's going to fix, that won't necessarily fix everything. But one thing that we do know, or one thing that I do know in my experiences in working with high schools, is that things that impact students are really 3 things that, I did a lot of work at one point with the University of Chicago and what they did in studying students and what makes them successful in terms of graduating on time. And they found in their study that there are 3 main factors: their behavior, their attendance, and their grades. Those were the 3 things that helped to predict whether students will graduate on time. And they actually trace that all the way back to the beginning of their 9th grade year, right? So you can't just say, like, for example, in their senior year, the number of credits, let's just take off like 1 or 2 classes and we know that kids will graduate on time. That's not really what we have to do here. We have to back it all the way up to their first semester freshman year. And we have to start looking at what is the attendance rate of our students? What is their behavior look like? Are they acting out, or are they, acting the right way? And what are their grades like all the way back then, starting from that first semester? And if they're doing all of the things that they should be doing starting that freshman year, and we are tracking all 3 of those things, then we know that they're getting enough credits to matriculate at the end of freshman year. And so all of those things will kind of add up and allow them to earn enough credits. And we can kind of look at the end of, for example, at the end of the first semester, freshman year, and then say, okay, how many of the students in the, let's say there are 300 freshmen, at the end of their first semester, so at the end of the fall, like back in, usually around mid to late January, around that time, how many of the 300 freshmen right now are able to, can we say, are on track to move on to sophomore year? We have to start looking at the midpoint. And then at the end of freshman year, how many of those 300 freshmen are on track to graduate at that point? So like these are the kinds of things that you have to start tracking all along. It's really not as simple as saying, okay, we know that we're going to take off these 2 credits, and we know by at senior year. You have to start backing those things all the way back and start tracking them regularly from when they're freshmen at the semester, each and every semester from the point that they are freshmen all the way through that senior year. So this is something that, I actually just attended a conference with the entire Fitch team all about freshmen. It was called like 9th grade on track. And we really talked quite extensively about this. And we actually are going to be implementing some very specific strategies to help strengthen our freshman program, to address problems just like this.
Okay.
So hopefully, we will actually improve graduation rates, really just to address problems like this.
Adrian, did you have your hand? I want to move us along, though. So, if you don't have anything different to say, because I want to see how many board members... hold tight again. I want to see how many board members want to refer it to curriculum instead of us going on and on talking about it.
All right.
Hold tight, Ian. Hold tight.
Sorry, you called on me, yes?
No, I didn't call on you. So that's what I want to do. So to move us along. I know your hand's up, but just hold tight.
For what? Am I going to get a chance to speak on this issue?
Oh,
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, she said Adrian.
I said Adrian.
She was looking at me, so it might have sounded differently, so, sorry.
Go ahead, Adrian. But just let me ask that question. Do you want to refer it to curriculum? Because then we can move on to the COW that's something to keep talking about. Adrian?
Yes, let me just say one thing, just so we know that and I also want to refer just the mastery-based assessment to curriculum, which is separate but related. And just so we understand, we really have 26 credits plus the mastery-based, plus the NYP, because that, at least in my understanding, is more like a small project, not a full credit. Mm-hmm. So if we're looking to gain credits in that, being a requirement but not a full credit of work, we need to look at that specifically on how that's handled. So I just wanted to kind of throw out there that we really have 1 credit that we can, reduce to get to the state level.
Okay. And you're in favor
So,
of...
yeah, I'm in favor of talking about the entire thing, the entire credit reduction and mastery-based assessment in curriculum, which I think it probably, by the time we get to it, it'll be, and Anne Marie has time to talk to the staff and get the staff input
Okay.
later on.
I'm good with that.
Matthew?
Great.
Mike?
I'm good with it, except what about the graduation rate trend? Would that come to Cal? It doesn't seem like that's exactly curriculum. We've brought up, okay, year after year, we've got these graduations. Would that be a separate referral to come back to Cal?
Yeah, it could come back to Cal.
Fine.
Yeah.
No. Feel like I'm
All right, Ian, are you in favor of the mastery-based assessment going to curriculum and credit reduction going to curriculum?
Yeah, I'm in favor of all that. I just also wanted to take the opportunity to thank Anne Marie for that synopsis there about graduation rates not just being a simple thing attached to credits. it is a holistic approach, and you really got to kind of work with the students early on and make sure they're on track early on. And early interventions is always better. So I'm in favor of us continuing to look at the issue and take a very scientific approach with it. And I look forward to seeing more on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ian. Dr. Ackerman?
Curriculum.
Jay?
Yes, I would like to see this go to curriculum first, because after all the time we spent tonight, it's going to go to curriculum, it's going to come back to us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's going to come back with a recommendation, but I think it was good information to hear.
yeah, I definitely would like to see it go to curriculum.
Okay. All right, moving on. Rebecca. Communications update. Thank you, Anne Marie. You did a fantastic job once again.
Once again.
Thank you.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. We thought it was due time to do a communications update. I had the opportunity to meet with the members of the Board Communications Committee a couple of times this past school year. And this update is similar to the update that I had shared on March 20th with some additions and expansions on some topics. It's, I think, fairly comprehensive in what I chose to focus on. So I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible, and then if you have some questions, maybe we can hold those to the end, because I'll hopefully cover off on them. So in terms of our communications goals, really we're always highly focused on strengthening communication and engagement. And what that means is, strengthening our tactical execution, strengthening our communication strategy. Communication is very much part of many of our major initiatives, our challenges, and family engagement, which is so critical to student success. We're constantly looking at improving our parent user experience, our staff user experience with our different tools. We're looking to expand our staff capacity and comfort with our different tools, as well as parents' knowledge of our different tools. Deepening that family engagement, especially around those key initiatives like attendance, like academics, engaging them in all that we have to offer and provide. And we certainly always want to be showcasing our schools, our students, our staff, our programs, and aligning everything we do with both the communications plan that the previous communications committee had created, as well as our new strategic plan. So I really wanted to orient you to a couple of our core platforms and the depth of some of them, and thought that was really a good place to start. So our website is obviously one of our main communication platforms. And in terms of the size and scope of it, our website has 1,600 pages. It's technically, from an IT perspective, 8 individual websites. It's our district site as well as 7 individual school sites. You can see we're active on it throughout the year. In the past 30 days, we've had 15 posts on the website, and so we do maintain our activity on that throughout the summer. And we have close to 6,000 resources on our website. So you can see the scope of it in terms of, it's a beast, in terms of what we're managing on a day-to-day updates, always checking for broken links, redirects, new resources, updated files. Resources are files of any type that are on the website, images, videos, things like that. Does our website, even though we did a redesign of our website a couple of years ago, does it continually need work? Absolutely. We are constantly trying to improve that experience on our website, make it easier for folks to find information that they're looking for, make it easier for parents with children at multiple schools to have a consistent experience, whether they're going to the Fitch site and looking for something, or they're going to the Northeast Academy website. As I mentioned, with all of our tools, something we're really focused on this summer is training and building staff capacity, and also making sure our website is current, that we're getting content up there quickly, that's relevant and timely. That's probably one of our biggest challenges, which goes back to building our staff capacity to be able to do that. Having more engaging photo and video content and interactive elements. And then this is something that's very near and dear to me, is accessibility of the website. We often are trying to take what we did on a physical bulletin board and put it up on the website, creating a PDF flyer and putting it up on a digital website, and that is not being digital. And furthermore, it's not mobile responsive, it's not translatable, it's not ADA compliant. So those are things that I am constantly striving for in terms of what we do on our website. And it tells, things like being translatable, it tells our non-English speaking families that getting you information in a way that you can understand is important. Making sure you can view it on a phone versus a desktop, which not everybody has a desktop computer or a laptop computer, and making sure that anybody who is using a screen reader or other ADA devices are able to consume our information as well. So those are things that are particularly important to me as we look at communications. I'm hoping this works. When I talk about interactive content, this is an example of the Fitch Program of Studies page, which is slowly evolving over time. The Fitch Program of Studies previously was an 85-page Google Doc. You can imagine scrolling through that on a phone, which is where most of our students are, is cumbersome and difficult, and it's difficult to consume in that format. So we've slowly been trying to evolve it. If they're not able to look through the program of studies effectively, they're not really evaluating all of the course offerings that we have for them, and maybe not enrolling in certain classes. So we've taken that and we've put it into a web-friendly format. They still can absolutely print out or look at a Google Doc if they want. We've created a digital flip book, which I'm not going to click on, but when you do click on it, it becomes a bigger size, and you can hit the little arrow and it goes swoosh, swoosh, swoosh as you're going through the pages. We've broken out all of the different content of the book in this way. You can see here, though, we do still have a link to a printable Google Doc if that's how somebody likes to view it. The name of the game here is really people like to look at things in different ways, and we want to make sure that they can do that. You can hover over all of our different course areas, and you can look at the course offerings in each of those areas. So this is particularly very mobile responsive format for folks. And then we're going to be continuing to evolve that, but if you look at our summer assignments webpage on the Fitch site, this is an example of an interactive element where I mostly take AP courses. I want to be able to filter and just see the assignments for all the AP courses, and then hover and click on it, and it's going to pop up with a link or that assignment. So when I talk about making it interactive and really engaging the user in the experience on the website, those are some examples of that. So that's just a quick snapshot of the website. I wanted to go into Parent Square because that, I'm sure you hear a lot about that, and it is far more than just a push notification system. Here's a snapshot, and this is a very fluid snapshot, especially as we prepare for our district rollover this week from rolling over from the current school year, or the 24-25 school year, up to the 25-26 school year. Is that where we are? Oh my gosh. I just pulled this snapshot late last week. So 4,009 students. Again, number is very fluid, but this shows you our dashboard of who we have in Parent Square. We have 4,979 unique parents. And that is because we have a lot of parents with more than one child in the district, so it's not a 2-to-1 ratio. And at that point in time, we had 99% contactability with our families. So the nice thing about this system is it tells us if for some reason we are missing contact information. I can tell you, I did look at that non-contactable 27, and a lot of that is class of 2024. 5 families who, after their child graduated, opted out of communications from us. So again, we'll be looking at this after the rollover as we welcome in all of our new kindergarten families. We'll be getting them up onto Parent Square.
Mike has a question.
Yep.
On that last slide, I noticed the English, the language is English other. That's the language that they're seeing Parent Square in.
That's correct, yes.
So I was surprised to see the others so low. I wonder if people, like maybe we should let them know that you can change
Yeah, so it's
languages.
linked to whatever their language is in Power School. So we have 104 families flagged as Spanish and 1 as Portuguese. We do have other languages, and we're looking to expand that. Yeah. This slide, I think, and I apologize if it's small, the red bar up top is email, the gray bar is text, and the black bar is app. So this tells us our reach methods in Parent Square. Additionally, I made a note for myself. We know that out of all of the phone numbers we have in Parent Square, 130 are landlines. Only 130 are landlines. Everything else is cell phones. And you can see that text is overwhelmingly the preferred method. And that was part of the reason behind our shift to a platform that could deliver effective messages via text, because that really is a desirable method that parents want to be communicated in, with email behind that, and then the app really in third. But a lot of parents are using multiple methods. They can go in and customize their notification settings in Parent Square, which is why you can see they don't necessarily receive communications in all 3 methods. This is a snapshot of, and I'm going to clarify this a little more in our next slide. So we have 4,979 unique district parents. 75% of them are activated on Parent Square. What that means is they've gone in and registered their account. And, we keep growing that number. When I did the same presentation to the Communications Committee, it was 73.3%. And the number of non-registered parents fell 2%. But what I think is really more telling is this next slide, which tells us that out of our 4,009 unique students, 97.7% have 1 parent or more who have activated their Parent Square account. So that's really more so the number that we care about. And again, we continue to increase that number. Now, what it means when I talk about a parent has activated their account, it means they can go in, they can customize their notification settings, they can choose if they want app or text around some different things. But even parents who have not gone in and taken that step are still getting our communications. It doesn't mean they're not hearing from us. They absolutely are. So there's approximately 85, 90 students who don't have a parent who is registered yet. Their parents are still getting information from us. But they're not fully taking advantage of the features to be able to engage in some two-way communication or messaging with us. And ideally, we want to get to 100% and have all students have at least 1 parent, because that means they can engage in some of the more robust features of the platform. This, I think, is really interesting. Last school year, through Parent Square, there were 190,000 direct messages sent. Those are messages between parents and teachers, parents and coaches, parents and other staff at the school, and 18,328 threads messages. And what that's referring to is, if I start a message with my son's teacher, that thread is essentially open for the whole school year. So that might mean I sent that teacher 10 messages throughout the school year, but it was 1 thread of messaging. So I think this is really telling in terms of the two-way communication that we're seeing between families and our schools and our staff. And I would hope that that just continues to grow.
Is that only through the app, seems like, or?
When you send direct messages, so you have to be registered. That's one of those features you have to have. You can do it through the app. You can do it through text or email. So. And I already highlighted this sort of what does having an account really mean. And this is something sometimes we do hear from schools. Parents will say, oh, I didn't get the message because I've never activated my Parent Square account. They're still getting our push notifications, and we can absolutely, we also have override settings for urgent messaging. For example, a school closure, and we can, even if they try to opt out, we can get to them. So what are some of our goals here? Well, we want to continue to help people be familiar and comfortable with the platform. That includes both staff as well as families, and we're doing that through ongoing training. Always trying to streamline our communication. We actually want to make sure we're not overloading families. We have heard that a bit. Now that everybody in the district has access to this platform, sometimes parents are probably getting too many messages. So we do need to look at that. And something that's come up in the past year that we're always looking at is how we're sharing out information from community partners and making sure that they that it adheres to board policies around that. And that policy might be something we even want to take a look at in the future, because I know some questions have come up about that in the past.
Just a quick but important comment. I'm glad to see the streamlined communication at the high school level. I and many other parents would really appreciate if the athletics notifications were bundled. Typically, we'd get a Wednesday schedule, and then you'd get a Tuesday results. Like, that's already two, and then it's like every day. And it can be really important information, but there's certain seasons I follow more closely than others. So maybe it's more tailored. That's way of streamlining it, or just bundling it. Hey, this is what's coming this week, and this is what happened last week. It would be great, because I don't mind so much seeing those, but now when I get a Parent Square buzz, I'm like, that's probably not important, because it's probably just athletics. But I really want to know when it's something very important.
Right.
And so finding that balance, particularly at least at the high school level, with less athletics notifications, me personally and others would really appreciate that.
As a parent of a recent, well, I guess it's been a year now, Fitch graduate, wow, it's really been a year, and an incoming Fitch student, I know what you're speaking of. I agree with you, and but we can even bundle here at the district level. And I just did a training this week with some coaches in the athletic department, and we're going to be doing some more throughout the summer, and I've been working with Mark a lot. So we are looking to streamline and
Again,
and across the board, not just athletics.
Yeah. Love the information, just once a week.
Kind of like what Matt Brown does.
Homeopathic dose.
Yeah.
And what Mike said, others, it's him and his wife. That's the others.
Oh, no. Many others.
I'm here. I'm with you. Yeah, because we don't want people to tune out. We don't want people to tune out, and that does happen.
Yeah.
And then when the important messages are coming, you miss them, and we don't want that happening. So we do have to be looking at that and bundling more, as you say.
And like what Principal Brown does is News from the Nest. And I know sometimes he does include a section for athletics, but if you had that once a week, what's happened, what's coming, so that you had it there.
Well, try not to send me the message that the buses are delayed.
Yes. And all of that goes back to some of our training with staff about how we can be a little more targeted. Being targeted is a very good strategic approach. So this is something I'm really excited about. It's something we've started using this past year. It's called Secure Document Delivery. We've started it for report cards as well as some other notifications. So it allows us to be able to send out secure documents that were previously either printed and mailed or printed and sent home in the backpack, and send them out digitally, so the parent gets the document with just a quick link that they can click on. With report cards, and I have more data on this, which wasn't part of your packets that you got on Friday, but I've incorporated it for tonight. We've increased our report card views from below 50% last school year to above 90% this school year.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's the best news.
So when we talk about engaging our parents in their student success, this is huge because they were previously not looking at report cards. It saves time, paper, postage, printing, resources of staff. It reaches parents in dual households because you're not just sending a paper home in the backpack with the child and whoever the child's going home to that night sees it, or you're not just mailing it to one address. But it's also trackable. So we know when documents are being viewed, when they're being seen, and that can be really helpful for a lot of different important documents. There's still absolutely a time and a place that paper is needed and should be we should be printing certain things out, but digital is certainly becoming the default. And the state is even transitioning to SBAC. They were planning a 2-year phase out. They currently provide SBAC in paper form to districts, but a lot of districts have started to make that shift sooner with tools like this, and that's what we're going to be doing this year, is sending out those SBAC reports via the secure document delivery.
Adrian has a question.
Yeah, with report cards, I do remember talking about this, and that is great news because I think that's probably one of the most important things that the parents get. Question with that, can we tell, like lots of different, Instagram and things, they can tell how long you're looking at things. Can we tell to see that, did a parent just like click on it and then go on to something else, or did they actually spend 10 seconds on it or a minute on it?
We can't see length of time, but we can see if they actually viewed it, and that's what this slide shows, is the actual views. So that's an interesting request, and I haven't ever seen tracking that includes I guess you have it on websites. You can track the length of time on a page. It'd be interesting feedback for me to give to Parent Square.
Yeah.
But we can see the views. So this is the. I'm sorry. Did you have another question?
Oh yeah, no. Well, it was just that because my concern is that maybe somebody just like opens the email but doesn't actually scroll through and read anything, or opens the document. But the other thing is and this is one instance where I think the paper is still important. That I'm sure that the teachers know which parents are watching things, but the parents that don't really interact as much. Personally, I would like to see a report card go in that student's backpack also. So maybe if a parent doesn't open it for a while, and we can kind of see that, then we try to reach out or somehow communicate with the parent, maybe with a phone call, just to say, did you see the report card? Is there any other way that we can do that? Because that 90% number is great, and I will admit I haven't always looked at the report cards, and I kind of knew how things were going.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that amount of communication.
Yeah, and the schools, they do know how to check this data, and what's nice is there's a tool, so if they go into their dashboard and they can see how many report cards were viewed, and they can click to easily print the ones that have not been viewed. So they can send those home with those kids if they need to. It makes it very easy for them to just print those off, and only the ones that haven't been seen.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what the actual, on the school-based level, is that something that's actually done or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they all did that or not, but it's something I'll follow up with them about.
All right, great.
So this does show the 23-24 to 25 to 24-25 comparisons for the elementary schools district-wide. So you can see that T1, it was 50%, and with this method, it went to 93%. And that doesn't even include the parents who may still have looked at it in Power School. So if anything, that number is potentially even higher. T2 last year, we do see a slight decrease each trimester, and that is consistent with either method. So that's curious, and we're wondering about that.
Can I just add, in the two top performing trimesters, those are the times where we also have parents coming to conferences, so that discussion about their progress is really important, so that you can follow up with parents. So that is happening at the elementary level, where everybody will have conferences at least twice a year,
Yes.
including middle school and high school. But that's where the outreach could happen too, is to make sure that we're inviting families in that kind of really need to be there. I mean, I think parents always have the choice, and kids too, at the upper levels, should be able to come to their conference. But, by their request or by the teacher request, so that we're really outreaching to families.
And what this number represents is it does represent the percentage of students whose report card was viewed by at least one parent. So those are unique views, if you will. And then at the high school level, you can see that in semester 1 of 23-24, there were 114 views of the report card by students or parents, and that jumped up to 626. And in semester 2, it was 75, and that jumped up this year to 460 for semester 2. And similar results across the board, with GMS seeing similar gains of going from 173 to 715 and 137 up to 580. So you can see we're really happy with this delivery method. And while we can measure clicks versus views. And I am going to ask for some additional insight on if the views is a extended time period, because we can. This is actual views, not just clicks.
Why do you think the decrease from semester 1 to semester 2?
I don't know, and that is curious. Angela Wheeler and I were discussing that, and the semester 2 report card and the T3 report card, they literally come out the last day of school. I don't know if people are just checked out at that point. I do think these numbers at the secondary level are very encouraging, particularly given those parents, if they're engaged with Power School, which shows grades on a very real-time, live basis. So the fact that they're still clicking on the report card, even though they can really track grades at any point in time, is encouraging. I do want to add on the elementary schools, we actually heard from some assistant principals that the teachers were adding more comments on the report cards and providing greater breadth of insight into a child's academic progress. Knowing that we were going to be sending report cards out this way, the teachers had more confidence that the report cards were going to be viewed at the elementary level.
And I think they were really delighted that they were, and that their energy and time that they were putting into it was being acknowledged.
And when they saw the numbers, the teachers were very happy that the hard work that they put in, the time they spend on doing those report cards is being seen.
Adrian?
Yeah, I'll second that it's discouraging for teachers when they see the printed report card in the same spot in the backpack 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So
You might know
it's
one of
discouraging to an elementary teacher to spend 10 hours outside of school putting report cards together and then have parents not read them. But I was you kind of touched on what I was going to say, but Power School, you can, for those of you who don't have kids, you always know where your kids' grades are on each individual assignment. So, I'm pretty active on keeping track of things there. So, you kind of don't. The report card is just the formal thing afterwards. So, I think as far as the high school goes, I imagine that a lot of parents do the same thing. Because then you can, if your student misses an assignment, you know it right away, and you can say what happened.
Do we have training for 6th grade parents and 9th grade parents and how to use Parent Square?
We haven't done in-person training. We push some materials out, but we're looking to, as we expand the training, yes, that's something we want to do more of and offer more Zoom sessions and help clinics. We're planning to be there at the freshman orientation on the 20th of August. We're going to be at the athletics night on the 11th of August to really start helping parents more with this.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think at conferences too. They
At
have
conferences,
stations. Yeah.
yes.
So parents can make sure they're on.
So some additional areas, I mentioned the training that I've been doing with coaches and we're going to continue to doing. We have emphasized that all coach to student or coach to family communications should be going through Parent Square, so we're streamlining that, which I think is important.
How you make sure that's happening?
Well, we've set up the groups, and Anne-Marie and I had communication with Mark Romano, which then he filtered down to the coaches, saying all communications should be going through Parent Square.
Is that part of their evaluation?
I don't know if it's part of the evaluation.
The coaches?
I can find out, but what they had been doing is using their own phone devices before this for their parents and the kids, and that's just too tenuous. We really want them to use.
Yeah, there would be, there would be chains of, text threads where you'd have multiple parents or students on text threads, and that's a compromise of their personal information. And so from a security and privacy standpoint, there were also some coaches who were using other apps like Team Reach or so this is, again, really streamlining, having everybody use the same platform, and it makes it easier for the parents that they're using one platform, whether they want to send a message to the coach or the teacher.
Just a quick one. Along with the coaches, I noticed that in the listing of some of the head coaches for high school, they don't have district emails, and it's because they're probably just coaches, and they have other jobs somewhere else. And like all our coaches to have district emails, so that just like you're saying, the school system has some ownership of the communications that's going through.
That's something I've been working with HR on and advocating for as well.
It's really important, right?
Because they should at least have a Parent Square.
Yes, and to have a Parent Square, they have to have a GPS email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll follow up on that.
I mean, if we have them as board members, all coaches.
Yeah, we've been making that shift, and I've been identifying any who don't. I think we got through all the fall and made sure all the fall ones have. There might be some variability with that on assistant coaches, and that's something we're talking about.
Yeah, and I could see the assistant coaches they don't have to necessarily be in charge of the communications, but definitely the head coaches.
Right.
Great.
Because we do have a lot of coaches who maybe they're coach at Fitch High School, but they teach at another school. So we've had to make just some tweaks, so then they're in the Fitch bucket, if you will.
That's great.
Yeah. We're also doing some things with nurses. I had, this actually came out of an attendance team meeting that I attended at Northeast Academy, and the nurse, or the head of the nurse program was there as part of that meeting, and we were talking about some of the things in Parent Square and the messaging tools, because at certain grade levels they need to have certain physicals and things like that, and a lot of that they were very manually tracking or collecting. So we're doing some training this summer with the school nurses to help them use this to improve some of their efficiencies with some of their paperwork collection or following up with families who, say a 7th grader who they need a new physical coming into 7th grade, and being able to reach out to the families that don't have that. We're looking at something called Parent Square Pay, which is a built-in pay tool. And there's been districts that have been very successful using this for collecting technology fees, new Chromebooks, extra chargers. So because it incorporates either Apple Pay or Google Pay, it makes it much easier. Some of our processes and steps to get parents to pay has been very cumbersome, and clicking out of one system into another system, what's my password, I don't remember, and then you never get the payment. So streamlining some of those things.
Not lunch? I didn't hear lunch.
Not lunch. Lunch is a separate system. They are using a separate system for that. And then Student Square, which is something we do have at the high school. We can actually have it at the middle school as well, but we have not turned it on at the middle school. It's only turned on at the high school at this point in time. And that allows the admin or coaches to push out messages to students. We are trying to do that in a way that respects the cell phone policy at the school. But, there's certainly times that students can receive some communications and know some of these things that they need to know at the high school level on their own. They're important information givers to their parents and can reinforce certain messages or things that they need from their parents, and it just helps them as we prepare them for the real world and to be adults. So we're looking to increase use of that for different clubs and activities. Some of the sports teams do already use that. So it's really not a separate platform. It's really the same back-end system, and when a coach, say, sends a message, they check off that they're sending it to staff, parents, students. Really, it's just the app just has a different name for the student-facing population. But it's really the same.
Is it a possibility to use the Parent Square Pay for lunches or not?
I don't believe so. It's a whole different POS system that is linked to the point of sale at the registers.
Okay.
So that's a much more complex system. That's
But I think you have talked to the food service personnel about getting messages through and getting messages out, like even reminders.
Yes, we do have an automated system of sending. We have an automated system of sending reminders to the parents who have a lunch balance, reminding them that they have a lunch balance and to go over to the school cafe and take care of that. So the one thing I left off of here is something called community groups, and it's add-on. It's an additional feature we're looking to activate, and it allows members of the general community or public to sign up for Parent Square groups of information. So if there's members of the community who would like to be hearing more about the school district or receiving our newsletters, or maybe they want to hear more about when the athletic meets are and things, they can sign up to be hearing that. So it's a nice way for the general community to opt into some communications with us. Yes.
Okay, maybe I'm just overly paranoid, but how do we assess that they truly care and want to attend our events and just not being creepy?
Well, right now anybody could go to the website and see the athletic schedule.
Yeah.
Right? So they could attend any of those. It's a completely, there are the proper privacy and security. They're not gaining access to our private groups. It's like they're not able to sign up
so
to
it's
the
just
boys soccer group. It's a whole separate public-facing group that they can sign up to receive push notifications.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Parent Square does have very top-level security and data access, privacy, all of that in play, particularly for school systems. So the other area I chose to highlight for tonight, certainly beyond these three areas I chose to highlight, there's a lot we're doing on the communications front. But I chose to highlight attendance. And this was a quote that we had included in an attendance roundtable discussion with assistant principals earlier this year, that more direct, personalized outreach to families through letters or texts can reduce absenteeism. Text has actually been shown to be huge and very positive communication tool for connecting with parents with just short, quick messages related to absenteeism. We've definitely been taking a look at a lot of our different attendance documents, trying to shift the tone of some of them so it's more friendly, encouraging, supportive. We want to see you at school, not putting parents on the defensive, not being punitive. Granted, there are things we need to send out. We do need to let them know about some of the state regs, especially when they reach certain points with attendance. But we are trying to make that a little friendlier, because ultimately the goal is to let kids know we want them back in school and try to help support families if they need support and have them feel comfortable coming to us if they need help.
School is better with you.
School is better with you. So we did implement this year that parents can respond to the attendance notification that they get in Parent Square that says, hey, your kid was out today. It doesn't say that, but, you know, it says, Brody was absent from school today. And again, it's just another step to help parents be able to respond and quickly tell us, yes, he was out, he had a doctor's appointment. So it helps us get that accurate documentation for when they're still within the parameters of excused absences, and helps that compliance. And we did speak to the state about that. We did review the board policy before we enabled that feature to allow parents to respond to those attendance notes through and send us a note back saying, yes, they were absent.
So are you saying that notes for someone in excused absence no longer have to be in writing?
That's correct. It says, the board policy says, while a written note from a parent guardian will likely be the most common form of documentation, other methods of reporting a student's absent are acceptable, such as through an online system with controlled access, which for a parent to respond to the notification through Parent Square, they have to be logged into their account to be able to send that response back. But it only is okay for the first 9 absences, which can be excused for the reasons. After absence number 10 or 10 and beyond, it's because of very specific reasons that it can be excused, and there's other documentation that's required, like a doctor's note or a legal note.
That's great.
Yeah.
I will say, at least at the high school level, I'm always getting, if my student is in something else, like an AP test or something, then I get this, they were absent from such and such class, like you're in school suffering in this test, and they're saying you're absent from something else. So I don't know if there's a layer of checking.
Cross-referencing.
They were in school, I know.
I know they're there. So we're continuing. In fact, today we had a call with Parent Square about an evolution that they have with their attendance product. We may be piloting it with them. It has some additional features and layers that are really linked to tiered interventions, depending on where the student is in sort of the attendance continuum, if they've got great attendance or if they're at risk or if they're chronic. So it's taking it a step further beyond just the communication to really those interventions, and making it easier for staff at the schools to see, okay, this is a group of students that's at risk of chronic absenteeism, and being able to push out a message to those families and take a very targeted, tiered approach to that.
Rebecca, would it be possible for the board to get an attendance report every month?
Yes, it would not be me who does that. I think that would be more of a Lauren. Or I know Anne Marie also leads a lot with the teams, but yes, I can certainly relay that. And
thank you.
Yeah, and as there's anything else on attendance related to this, I can certainly provide that. This was, again, thinking about more positive communications. This was a postcard we did this past school year, School is Better with You, that all of the schools got a supply of to use for positive shout-outs for students, or to send it home if needed, if they're need to try to reconnect with a student or a parent, and say, we want you here, come on back to us. This is not filled in, but every year we do a refrigerator magnet, a calendar magnet with the school calendar on it that we send home. So we'll be getting that ready, and a lot of the other back-to-school communications that will be happening very shortly. Are there any other questions I can answer?
First of all, there'll always be work to do, but you've done an awful lot of heavy lifting in the last 18 months.
That's right.
Thank you.
I, for one, am grateful. So the first question is, can we arrange to send this to the entire RTM and town council so they can see this report?
Yeah, I'd be happy. I could actually put it in a note, a weekly update, and they could have it, or we could send it out on its own.
I think this is a physical product. It might be nice to somebody to hold it.
It would also be good up on the website, too.
Yeah.
So there are two types of communications that I've been seeing that I remember from the communication plan. One is internal operational communications, A+. The other part is external strategic communications. Susan's going to the RTM. It's a piece of that. My request for a student exit survey, I hope we'll get your report on that, is another part. The Project 2020, the building project style community forums, is another part. The communication plan had, I don't remember the number, 8, 15 things that would be nice to do, and we're never going to do all of them in 1 year, but I'm hoping you will work with the communications committee in the coming year to pick one or two to start developing them, because part of our problem, in my humble opinion, in gaining support, financial support, comes from we tell them all the time what wonderful things we're doing, and then we come to them and tell them about our problems and we need so much money. There's a kind of disconnect there. So the way we overcome that disconnect is by, in reports, whatever report we have, all the wonderful stuff, and then at the end, and here are the 3 challenges, or 2 challenges, or 280 challenges that we're facing. Articulate the challenges we're facing. Not a huge thing, but articulate them. And share this stuff with them on an ongoing basis, so that when we come to them, they've been educated throughout the entire year. This will build our relationship and will increase the level of trust.
And they actually spoke to that when I met with them, and it was a privilege to meet with them.
Yeah.
But they had some really good suggestions about keeping that ongoing, and I talked to Beverly about that.
I think it's great. I heard about it, and JC seemed to not object whatever to your presence.
Well, the superintendent is always on the RTM agenda every month, but the superintendent has to show up. But she's always on the RTM.
Or her designee. Or her designee.
Right. I have asked Jay to hold a communications meeting. He said he reached out to the communication committee, and nobody's responded to his message. So I'm going to ask you all to please get in touch with Jay so we can have a communications meeting. Okay? Jay, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to thank Rebecca, and, when we received all this information at the last communications meeting, I immediately requested that it be shared with the board. Obviously, we have been drudging through a lot of very long, very involved meetings in the interim, and there wasn't time to do it. But I'm glad that we were able to see it tonight and all the great work that's being done in the communications. And while I don't think it's necessary to necessarily tweak the communications plan every month, I think having a few meetings a year will probably suffice. We have a very good plan that the previous committee was very instrumental in creating, and now it's just a matter of when and where we implement. So again, thank you, Rebecca.
But you need to have a meeting, Jay, okay? Because we like to increase our parent engagement and, think of ways that, maybe even have a forum that the parents could come to, So that's something the communications committee can talk about with your leadership, Rebecca.
And one thing I didn't mention we did do this past school year was an IB webinar. And we did a lunch and learn, and then we did an after hours one, and it was online. And we are still trying to, determine when do parents want to come out to something versus when do they want to do like a lunch and learn. But that was a hugely successful approach, and we had, I think we had like 70 parents sign up to come to these 2 sessions to learn more about that program. So,
You might even do it for like career pathways and
Yep.
some of the other
Mhm.
areas.
But yes, and, absolutely want to get folks back out in person to some things, as well as offer these sort of dual options of how they can join and find out more.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm very passionate about communications. I'm the sort of person who goes to a store or a restaurant, and I immediately look at things and go, oh, they should do that, or they should do this. But I'm very passionate about wanting to make sure we are sharing information with our families, that we're getting it to them effectively, that they're responding, that they're engaging, and it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah. Communication is very important, so thank you again.
Thank you.
Dean?
Who translates the web page into Spanish?
We have a tool on the webpage called Weglock. That's a built-in tool that you can click on the bottom.
Automatic.
I was just wondering why it was that our address in Spanish is 1300 Flanders Road, Místico. Why isn't Flanders Flandes?
That I'm not sure.
Everything's in English except for Místico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice flair.
Parent Square auto translates. So if you send, for example, if a teacher sends a message to a family that is Spanish speaking, that family will see it in Spanish, and when they write the teacher back, she or he will see it in English.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It does a better job than
Yeah, well, thank you. And don't
Let's
forget,
use AI.
don't forget communication committee people. Get in touch with Jay. Let him know when you're available so we can start. It is a standing committee. If you don't want it to be a standing committee, we'll have to look at the bylaws. But I think communication is very important. That's my opinion. And Matthew's always on me about communication. Yeah. All right. And thank you again, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying so late.
Good night, Sam.
This looks familiar.
See you tomorrow. All right, next on the agenda is review referral tracking sheet. So we added this evening the mastery-based assessment and credit reduction to curriculum. I had asked for by the GEA, per GEA, they have asked for the board to take another look at the attendance policy. Is that something the board would like to go on the referral list for policy? The GEA would like to have more teeth in that attendance policy. And I would like to have a couple of the teachers sit in on that meeting so they can help us with that. So how do you feel about that?
I'd be, I guess, generally open to it, but I don't want to have it be mean.
It's not mean, but they want it to be effective. They don't want it to be mean, but I mean, if we have an absentee rate, then you have to, absentee. I mean, it's up to you all.
I'd be okay with it.
Okay. Matthew?
Yes.
Jen?
Is it for the kids or for the faculty?
I think they were told more for the kids, but we can make it for the faculty.
No, I was just
But
asking.
I don't think that's up to Susan with the faculty.
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
And I think Anne Marie is definitely working on this project the whole team is going to be working on that because we do need to make improvements. And so we certainly, I think I see her hand going up as I'm saying this. I
Okay.
don't know she'll involve teachers too.
Ah, okay.
So, but we might
Well,
want to
let me
hear
ask
from
the
her.
board about
Okay.
it. I wanted to see if we put it on the referral list.
Yeah,
Adrian?
do you want to put it to the referral to Cal or a referral for a committee?
Committee policy.
All right, yeah, I agree.
Okay. Dean?
Sure.
All right. Anne Marie?
So we do have a committee coming together, of administrators coming together to look at the policy just to see if there would be any improvements that we could make. And certainly, once we do that, we could bring together a larger committee that involves some teachers to look at that, or a committee, or just bring it to policy in general afterwards. But we, as a part of regular work that I'm doing this summer, this was one of the groups that I was bringing together to look at a variety of things, and attendance was one of them. As a part of a larger initiative that we're doing to improve some of our efforts around attendance.
All right, so we'll put it on the referral sheet, but we'll wait for you to let us know when to move it forward.
Okay.
Okay?
That group is meeting next week, and so I will give you an update on some of the things that we came up with.
Okay. And thank you, Anne Marie.
You're welcome.
Anything else on the referral list? Matthew?
Well, given my forthcoming tenure, we have a discussion of the mentor program. Is that something that you want, that you, the board, wants to keep on your list of things to do? My only piece that I'm going to be able to do in the meantime is I spoke to Sean Greeley about having our leadership of the mentor program have an interview so we could recruit for more mentors. Sean's got some technical issues, but he hopes he can get it done so that from late August through September we'll be able to be broadcasting and recruiting for more mentors. But is there anything beyond that you want to discuss? Otherwise, we can take it off.
Do you want that mentor program video and information under communications? Is that something that would be?
Well, the board authorized me to go ahead, and I spoke to Sean, and he said he's going to get back to me, but he'll try very hard to get us to do it, and then I'll get in touch with our two program leaders. I won't be part of it. It'll just be them and the interviewer talking about what the program does, where we were, where we are, and that we have 30 or so kids that we don't have mentors for.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that. Susan.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you wanted to add it to the tracker
Oh,
for safekeeping.
Well, on the tracker it says discussion of mentor program. I'm not going to be here, so...
Is that under the COW?
yeah.
It's on the COW, so it's up to you whether you want to keep that on or not.
It just sounds like it's moving towards communication so that
Yeah.
we can make sure that we're communicating to get a broader base. So I don't know if we just want to
Can we
move it.
move it to communication?
Do whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know all that much about the mentor program, so
Oh, you don't?
I know it exists, but
All right. So what happens, we move it to communications, they talk about, and they give us a report about the mentor program. Right.
The other two that I have on was the student exit survey. Since next month will be my last month, if it's possible, Susan, to bring it to the council.
I already have a report ready for Matt Brown. We just have to find a time
Oh,
to
terrific.
have him come in.
Terrific.
Yep.
And integrated financial literacy update. I don't know that we'll have time to do that. That was my request. If it's the board's request, if somebody else wants to make that as a request for referral to Cal, but as I won't be here,
Where are you?
R under curriculum and instruction, R 2024-22.
I think we agreed to keep that one. We had the very helpful update on personal finance, but your point was well taken. Like, how's that fit into everything broader? And we probably want to know how the personal finances as a requirement is going anyway.
And finally, this is not I don't know if this is a Cal topic or not, but I was hoping that by giving you guys 2 months' notice, you'd have a chance to start locating I won't say replacement, a successor for my seat, so that person will have a full 4 months on the board to get up to speed.
There's a good candidate sitting to the right of Beverly.
Well, it's very bittersweet to me. It's very, very bittersweet.
Let's do this. Let's put mentor program promotion or what advertisement or whatever under communications. But Mike would still like to know, even though he says no, we'll keep a discussion of the mentor program under COW.
That sounds fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you know for communication that I am in process of trying to set up this particular event. Okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be my reminder. It's on there, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I think mine's the last. I have one on COW. It was about the discussion of the high school number of credits required for high school graduation. So I guess we're done with that for Cal, and then, of course, it has
Going to
moved, I guess, to curriculum.
Okay.
And then the other one I had, I'll let you do that.
For me.
There's another one on Cal. There's a few up from there. It was a discussion of the Early Childhood Center. And I'd like to keep that on because, discussions of that would maybe be at where Mary Morrison is. So it's worthwhile to, keep talking about that early planning if needed.
And the state is providing another grant that we're going to absolutely put our name in for, like that we're interested, and it has things like construction and growing programs. So if they're willing to support through grants, that might be an invitation for us to do something.
May I offer one other thing that's not on the list?
Is it a referral?
No, it's off topic, of course.
What is it?
You're going to miss him, too.
Go ahead.
What we've seen thus far from Washington is not the sum total of what we're going to see in the next several years. So I, as an individual, whether you agree with it or not, you need to read the Project 2025 section on plans for education. Because one of the things that Mr. Hegseth said he wanted to do before he was confirmed was to eliminate DODEA. And we really need to pay attention to these things. It's a lot more than that. If you get a copy at the Groton Public Library, end of comment.
Okay.
Hope and pray, but pass the ammunition.
You're not allowed to have that.
It's a metaphor. It's a mixed metaphor.
All right, anything else? All right, I just want to say this. I sent out an email, I don't know, a week or two ago about board evaluation and superintendent evaluation. I only got one response, and that's from Adrian. So communication works both ways. When people say, oh, people aren't communicating, they're not responding, sometimes board members don't respond either. So I'm asking you, please, when I send out an email, unless I'm not going to send out any emails, I said this to Jay, why waste my time sending out emails if you're not going to respond? So I'm asking you, please, to respond to that so we can get these two evaluations done. We need to get Susan's done, and we need board evaluation and board goals done. So thank you, Adrian. You were the only one to respond.
Get the goal.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You didn't get my 40-page note?
No, it was. I only read the first paragraph, and that's it. All right? Sometimes you respond, Mike, but...
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, Jen? All right. All right, anything else?
I think Andrea has a motion for us.
Andrea, it's your turn.
Motion to adjourn. I'll email you tomorrow, Beverly.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Dean. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
And I'll see you tomorrow, because we've got just to
Recording stopped.